legally. I read something about DMR, and it's like 3 wake zones in the Jordan River that are legal, and that was one that is. Somebody thought it was put up. I know people. And they don't. The DMR don't patrol it. You know, they can't control it. Not enough people in the world to control it. People don't understand what the wake zones are for. And
Oh, Mr. Burns.
it's like up McLeod Park, they just wash the banks away, and people just speed through there.
It's mainly the small boats that go faster than the big boats.
All right, I'm gonna call to order, February 18th, City Council meeting, 2025. Mr. Reed, would you lead us in our invocation, please?
Yes, sir. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Our Father, as we stand in the city and stand in this place, we're asking that you would shape our lives with integrity so that we find favor and understanding. And Father, that you would crown us as a council and administration with wisdom's blueprints, the kind that you laid the earth's foundation with, so that we might guide our city, our lives, and our family. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball. Okay, we have any agenda amendments anybody wants to put in?
Yes, I need to add, approval of, roadhouse being built by city property. Do you have that?
Well, that's for discussion only. I'm not gonna vote a motion on it. It hadn't been on the agenda for 24 hours. I mean, we can discuss it.
He's kinda waiting on a motion so he can move forward with this
Well,
project.
we can do it next meeting. I mean, we don't give the public time to discuss these things and look at them. What's the whole point of having the meeting?
Okay.
Thank you.
Remember that next time.
I'm sorry, would you like to elaborate?
Yes, I will.
You're threatening?
No, you've done it before.
Well, I mean, dude, it's the law. You didn't
Okay.
post this in 24 hours.
There is no law that says that. I just want to
Oh,
clarify
well, I
that.
appreciate that too. But I am the president, and it wasn't posted for 24 hours at least, so people could at least review the information since it is concerning city property.
And that's the problem, you're the president.
I sent Mr. Riso an email earlier saying that this was for discussion only. Is that right, Mr. Riso?
You sent me an email and I put it as discussion.
Thank you.
We don't have the right to add stuff on the agenda.
Well, you
That's
can,
voted on all the time at meetings.
I'm sorry, Mr. DeSalvo. I mean, that was my decision. I sent it to Mr. Riso.
Well, I don't think you're the only one that council that can make a decision, so we'll talk about that a little bit and we'll see what we gotta do.
We'll talk about it now.
I wanna add it to the agenda, but I'd like to make a motion to add it to the agenda. Excuse me.
I mean, we can discuss it. I'm not gonna bring it up for a vote until I've had the ability to read it.
I don't think you have that power.
I'm still the president and I set the agenda.
Yeah, you don't have that power though. So,
Okay, well, like I said. All right, announcements. Let's see, February 22nd, 11 a.m. Crew of Nereids Parade, that's Saturday. February 23rd, 12 p.m. Crew of Nereids, that's Sunday. March 3rd at 5:30, Mystic Crew of Seahorse Parade. March 4th, 1 p.m. Crew of Real People, the Next Generation Parade, and that's Tuesday, that Tuesday. Let's see, first thing, guest, Hope Haven Children's Advocacy Center proclamation. Mike, you got that?
No. Hope Haven asked to come attend and give a proclamation.
Yeah.
So we put it on the
Oh.
agenda.
Are they here?
It wasn't the city giving them a proclamation, it was,
They give
they
it
were
us.
gonna do something.
Oh, are they,
For the
is
children.
Hope Haven here?
I don't see anybody from Hope Haven here, no.
Okay, yeah, I don't either. Okay, we'll move on. Motion to, let's see. Okay, motion to approve auto and property insurance renewal effective February 26, 2025.
And
Mr. Rosetti?
John Rossetti is here
Hey,
to
come
speak
up.
towards that.
John Rossetti, live in Bay St. Louis, been managing the insurance city probably about 12, 13 years. So, good news, it went down. I mean, you know, we went through about a decade where it did go down, but now it went up for about 4 or 5 years, and it went down. I'll answer any questions, but the one thing I wanted to really communicate with y'all is the property policy. Don't look at it like the homeowner's policy. It's a catastrophe policy. And we talked about this. Like, we get a couple of sheets of metal blown off, or we get the shingles here. This policy's not going to react to that. And then if you notice in there, we have the wind deductible buy down. And that's because we have 28,500, 28,500,000 a total insured value. So basically, it puts under deductible at 1.4 million. So the wind deductible buyback, I just looked at it 2 years ago, that premium was 144,000. Now we're down to 10. So, you know, we talked about it over the years. Do we want to self-insure a $1.4 million deductible, or do you want to buy it down to 100,000? So that's a lot. In the past years, that's what we've talked about more than anything. I can answer any of your questions. We can talk about it, but you know, I think the budget. If you look at the last year's premium, and Mike can tell me if I'm wrong, but I told him budget 10% increase. So I think I did a rough math, so we should be about 100,000
Very good.
to the good.
Yep.
To the good.
So, Mike, we budgeted how much for insurance this year?
About 10%.
Up 10% from the
From
6,
previous
7,
year.
and
Previous
4?
year.
What's
I'm
that,
sorry.
20?
From the
Keep
previous
speaking
year.
to Mike.
About 10% from the previous year.
Okay, so that is a big deduction. All right, that's good.
And Gary, I want to add one more thing. Did my best efforts to get this renewal to you instead of having a special exception meeting because the proper carriers get it to its last minute. If you make the motion, I would make the motion approve, not to exceed, because I still have other quotes coming in.
And
And
the one on from the one on the back?
Yeah, in the
When do you
past.
think the rest of them will be here?
Pardon?
When do you think the rest of the quotes will be here?
I don't know if I will get any. I do have a couple brokers. I think if I had the bet, I probably got a 50-50 chance I'm gonna get another wind deductible buy down quote. It's gonna be less. But in the past, I've done that. We've bound what has been presented. You know, actually, what y'all approved to be bound, I bound premiums less in the future. 'Cause I did get something cheaper at the very end, same coverage in check. The city just wrote a check smaller than what y'all.
Yeah.
And John, the best way to do that, and what I do with my over here other clients, is typically just ask for a motion to authorize the mayor to bind our insurance premiums in an amount not to exceed, and the coverages presented by you tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Council good with that?
And just a question on the auto. So all the makes and models that we have here listed, those are all functioning and in circulation? I mean, we've got some here that are,
I mean, we have like 72
75,
vehicles.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
2010, 2012, there's quite a few that, I mean, are those?
They are, that's something we're looking to surplus later on. Once we get the new police cars in, we'll probably surplus maybe 4 or 5 of them. The rest will be kept for spares and all. See what we got then.
'Cause we've
So if
got-
you look at that, just to clarify, and this is a question Gary sent me also in the vehicles, the 72 cars that are listed have comprehensive coverage. The rest of our vehicles, the liability coverage is under the Mississippi Municipal Insurance. Tell me if I said the company right.
MA
MAA, something like
and.
And then all the fire department vehicles are under that fire policy, which is separate. So we've got more vehicles than 72, but those don't carry comprehensive. They just have liability because they're
Oh,
much older.
yeah, I understand.
And then we removed per the direction of the mayor, we remove older vehicles throughout.
So y'all, how many, Mike, you plan on surplusing?
Have to get with the chief and all, they talking about maybe four of them, maybe, just see what we got, you know.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anybody got any more questions?
Motion, approve auto and property insurance renewal effective February 26, 2025, as presented from Rossetti and Associates, an amount to not to exceed $679,608.86.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilman Seal to approve to move the auto renewal policy effective February 26, 2025, not to exceed the amount, repeated, $646,568.73, seconded by Councilman Reed. Have any questions, discussion? Vote to motion?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Next thing.
Thank you, John.
Anita Warner? With the Pocket Park renovation, I put that on.
Thank you. Anita Warner on behalf of the Garden Club today, Bay Waveland Garden Club. And the Pocket Park we're talking about is the Tercentenary Park. That is the little park between the Hancock Bank and Cuz's right on the beach. It was done in 1999, and then it was redone after Katrina. But for the past however long, it looks really sad, y'all. It needs some help.
Yeah, I went and seen it.
If you go in, you'll see a giant palm tree that is diseased that needs to be removed. There is a crepe myrtle that has been murdered, and it also has aphids. It needs to be removed. And then a lot of the other plants in there are in either dead, dying, need to be removed. We do have some very nice camellias, have some sagos, and we have some loropetalum. But Judy McGowan, who is with me here tonight, is one of our master gardeners, and she has done a plan. And since this is city property, we'd like to show you what we're proposing. We want to add some roses and some azaleas to give you some color and some fragrance. And that's all on us. But we need the city to remove the palm tree, and we also need more water. The only water in there is in the corner on the front closest to Cuz. And this thing is 70 feet deep. So when we're trying to do watering or soaker hoses or anything, so we need an additional water faucet. I don't know how hard it would be to run one across or run in the corner and back, but something so we'd have a little more water. But that's why we're asking, because it is city property. We need your permission to go in there and work on it. And then while I'm talking to you about it also, I will just say that the statue of Bienville is on a pedestal, and there's some wood around it where apparently people could sit on there originally. That stuff's gotten pretty rotten. It probably needs to be replaced. We're not talking about doing that. We're just talking plants, soil, redoing the whole thing. We have a plan. We'd like to, Judy will give everybody a copy so you'll know what we're talking about. So that's my ask. Permission.
On that, the bank usually maintains that, you know, keeps it up some.
And they have, Mr. Mayor, but
Yeah.
believe me, the weather has done its work.
Oh, I know, we just had 6-8 inches of snow killed everything.
Yeah, the snow, the ice is
Yeah.
gonna get
So,
cold and
but anyway,
freeze again.
they're still willing to maintain it and everything, but they don't want anything they have to keep up on a daily basis and all. They seem to think there's a water sprinkler system already in there. I don't know, but, you know, talking with John, they were looking at it and everything, talking about it. They think there's one installed, you know.
If
so-
there is, I didn't see it. I
Yeah.
can just tell you, I know there's one faucet, but we need to get that palm tree. Y'all need to take that palm tree down. So,
Mike, you think you can get the Public Works, get that palm tree out?
we'll go look at it and see.
Is it
Now
dead?
We can get some.
It's
says it's
diseased.
fungus.
It's about 45 or 50 feet tall. It has a fungus.
Okay.
It's nasty.
Oh, it's 45 or 50 feet, huh?
Yeah, it's.
I guess I
Wow.
looked at
I
that.
mean,
No,
I
it's-
went
it's
and
a-
looked up at
it's
it.
a
I'm
big
trying
tree.
to gauge it with my clinometer, which is what I use on my trees, and it's probably 40 feet for sure.
So it was diseased before the cold weather came in?
Yes, before the
Okay.
cold weather. It's a fungus that's on there. It's just, and like the crepe myrtle has aphids. It's black. It's nasty. It needs to come out too. So the things we're talking about putting in there are all things that are perennials, that there wouldn't be anything that they would have to do particularly. I mean, it's flowers and it's shrubbery that everybody has in their yard. And the camellias right now, and they're really beautiful. They're blooming and they're doing very well. And the loropetalums, the only thing is that somebody's gone in there and tried to make mushrooms out of everything, which you don't necessarily need. But, so that's my ask, permission to redo it, and then to have y'all take out the palm tree, and then if there is a watering system, that would be good, but so far, all I have is one fountain in one, faucet over in the corner I cut. So we are supplying the plants, we're supplying the soil, the labor to get it all redone.
Okay.
And the city, and it's my understanding that the bank has been like cutting the grass and doing that.
That
So-
water meter that you all have there, there's not a faucet connected to
No,
that?
there is one faucet, but it's in that corner. And so
Okay.
you've got a 70-foot deep part, and it's only on one side. So to go all the way around, you're talking, I can't even remember what, 20. So you're talking 160 feet off of one faucet, and generally soaker hoses, you need something a little bit more powerful.
Basically, you all want to run the hoses around the edge.
Right,
rather
soaker
than across
hoses,
them.
yeah,
Okay.
so that they, unless, now, he says there might be a watering system, I didn't see any evidence of that, you usually have those pop up, but there wasn't anything that I saw. So,
Okay, I see what you all want.
so that's our ask. Y'all have any questions? Happy to respond, but it's all perennial plants. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we allow the Bay Waveland Garden Club to go in and make these improvements as stated to this plan.
I'll second.
I second.
Second by Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
15, 20
Aye.
calls in there.
Joe, is that aye? You might.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Just if you would, just get with Mike and Public Works and see if they can help with that tree. And, if not, I can make a couple of calls. I know a few tree guys.
Sign the minutes.
Oh, let's see, next item. Motion to approve minutes from February 4th. Motion, Councilman Seal.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Motion.
Okay.
Councilman Hoffman had the second.
Councilman Hoffman seconds.
Yes.
Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carried 7-0. Let's see, Second Street public parking, public hearing?
This is the public hearing to determine whether something's a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community that you guys set probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe 3 council meetings ago. And it's for a property located at 3013 Second Street in Bay St. Louis. That's out in Ward 6, and it's owned by Michael J. Cuevas Jr. So at this time, I would ask that the council open the meeting, the public hearing, sorry.
So you need a motion?
Yes.
It's been a while since I've done one.
You can just, yes, or just, I mean, you don't have to, you can do a motion or just open the public
Okay.
hearing, however.
I'll
you
open a
want.
public hearing for 3013 Second Street public hearing.
State the time.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5:51.
I think
Who's
Mr. Cuevas
presenting?
is here.
Hmm?
I think Mr. Cuevas is
Oh,
here.
Ms. Cuevas, would you take the stand, please? The podium, thank you.
Actually, I would,
Okay.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I would prefer for the city to present why we're
Yeah.
here before we
Okay, would you
proceed with that.
pardon for a second?
Sure.
And let a city attorney state her.
Okay. As mentioned, this hearing involves property located at 313 Second Street in Bay St. Louis, owned by Michael J. Cuevas Jr. Repeated efforts and attempts to clean this property. Sorry, I'm getting my highlighted version. To clean this property have been unsuccessful. This has been ongoing now for a couple years. I've sent letters to Mr. Cuevas asking him to clean the property, as well as our code department and our code officer, offering opportunities to meet with him and city officials. Now, one thing to point out is originally this property did have really tall grass and the windows were not boarded up. Mr. Cuevas has gone in and cut the grass and boarded up the windows. However, there is an old mobile home, an old trailer that remains on the property that does not meet city code. City building officials have determined that the trailer will not be able to be brought up to code due to zoning ordinance and also FEMA regulations. Because the trailer cannot be brought up to code, the only course of action is for the trailer to be removed from the property. The property owner has yet to remove the trailer and also an old abandoned and dilapidated shed that is on the property. As a result, the property owner were noticed to appear at this hearing before the board to determine if the property in question is in a state of uncleanliness as to be a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. And I would like to introduce as Exhibit A, which will be to the resolution, the notices that Ms. Bourgeois should have a copy of. And those notices were mailed and posted on the property as well as posted at City Hall. The correspondence, documentation, and photographs presented before you, which comprise the city's file on this property, reflect the uncleanliness of the property in question so as to be a menace. And I have a folder here, Mayor, if you wanna, what I'll do is just pass this around, and this has pictures. It also has all the notices just for you to see, and you will see property and you will see it in the condition that it was before and after the grass is cut. And so the reason that the administration recommends that it be determined to be a menace is that the trailer is currently vacant with no electricity, running water, or sewer. I believe it's been this way for years, probably since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The windows from the trailer have been left open for rodent invasion and assuming damage to the interior of the property. From the road, the Bay St. Louis building officials believe that the trailer is beyond a state of repair and cannot meet current building codes and FEMA requirements. And this is also your zoning regulations. In order for, while the administration greatly appreciates the fact that Mr. Cuevas has gone in and boarded up the property and also cut the grass, the city would still like to see the mobile home removed from the property and the shed removed as well. Therefore, the menace is finally completely alleviated. So that is what the administration has. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
So, Ms. Smith, when you say boarded up, what did he board up? Because the trailer is not boarded up. Is there another structure that he boarded up on the property?
What was the boards after these photos were taken?
Yes.
Say that again.
My understanding is that the windows and the doors have been, some sort of board has been placed
After the
on
photos,
it.
Okay.
after that. That's before. Yes, that's before.
That's all.
That's
Same
before.
thing in the-
Yeah, and there's some pictures in there after he cut the grass.
Any councilman have any more questions? Mr. Cuevas, would you like to?
And I would suggest that Mr. Cuevas be allowed to speak, as well as anybody else in the public that would generally like to speak on the property.
Okay.
The problem I had, I inherited this property from my dad passed away. And
I'm sorry, do you live in, could you state your address right now?
where I physically live is in Georgia.
Okay, could you state your
I'm
address?
from Michael Clay,
State your name and your address for the record.
178 Blackville Valley. The problem I have is that if you look at a trailer, you look at a house, trailer has studs 2 by 3. House has studs 2 by 3. Okay, structure on the bottom of this thing is solid steel. Okay, I mean, it's not a brand new structure. Okay, when I was told to clean this thing up, I went over there and cleaned it up, boarded it up, and I left the Heather's secretary, let her know I was done. Well, meanwhile, I got a letter stating that I had meetings after I'd already done that. I had asked when I got the first notice from you guys, I would like to go in and fix it up and make it nice. But you got the elevation requirement, you got the FEMA requirement, and you got this thing where they don't want trailers. Okay, I get that. This was done before, it was fine before Katrina. It's a structure that I can go in and I can fix. But see, I got this hill to climb with the way you guys got ordinances, the laws are set. But
Yeah, but Katrina was 21 years ago.
no, I understand that. But after Katrina, it was put in there where we couldn't do anything with it. So yes, I've kind of just let it sit there. But there's been no police report as far as the team. And I get it that, hey, look, either I can get permission to make it right, make it livable with basically put electrical, put new windows, and then basically, redo the electrical, and that's basically it. The structure is fine, it's not rotted, there's no termites in it. So, it's like,
The problem comes in the cost of building materials today, the 50% rule, and the value of that mobile home. You would never be able to repair it
well, that's
and be under that rule.
okay.
I mean, without elevating it.
That-
to
that-
proper
that is, I can
elevations.
get around that. I mean, the 50%, if y'all gave me permission to do it, that's what I do for free. Okay, I get the 50%. Those are more hurdles that people have like me.
Yes.
People in this area have to go through because the federal government's coming.
Yep.
They don't give a shit about us. Okay? They don't. And they put these laws in place because they don't want to have happen what happened during Katrina. But since Katrina, what they've done is they built levees over New Orleans. So what you're gonna have another Katrina, all that water's gonna wash in here. You're gonna have a lot more bigger problem than we had in Katrina. But you got
But
levees.
Mr. Cuevas, we've had Hurricane Zeta and Ida in the last 2 years, and this property's flooded since then.
Yeah, but it doesn't go above what it's already set at right now. Elevations are higher now, requirements that was put in. Okay, so, if you look at it from the standpoint, okay, the 50% rule, I can fix, I can't get over the fact that you guys have a requirement that says, hey, look, we have an elevation requirement. But if I get around the elevation requirement because it's there prior to Katrina, that's not you. Okay? Then it comes to a point where, okay, it's the interior. Is the interior where I can make it where it's not gonna be rotted, or to a point where I couldn't do anything with it? The walls are not rotted. Okay? You don't have an issue where people are going in the house. You have a couple of people on the street that don't want it. That's just being honest. Nobody calling the police department. I mean, trust me, you can go with me, you can look at the house, no rot in it, termite.
And Mr. Cuevas, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we validate that? Do we have any complaints in terms of vagrants or loitering or anything on that property, or anything logged with the city?
We've had multiple, whether it be phone calls or verbal calls from the residents. I probably could not go, I don't know if I could go pull you a police report. I don't have that information with me today, but I know that Councilman DeSalvo has received multiple calls on this property. I know the mayor has received calls
But what are the
on the
calls
property.
consistent of seeing individuals that are
Just-
trespassing?
Just
or-
blight,
Blight property.
blighted
20
property,
years.
nuisance,
Very-
rodents coming in and out.
Yeah, and there's, now, okay. Blight, you can look at it and say, hey, look, I can redo the outside. Rodents, there's no food or anything in the place. The place is empty, okay? You're not gonna have, like, vermin going in and out of it. I mean, this is just a way for someone to say, look, I don't like to do that. Look, I don't
Well,
get it. I can make it nice, but I can't get around the issues that I got to be able to do that. Because when I first got the letter from Heather, okay, the planning and zoning basically told me, hey, look, I'm not gonna get power. Can't get power to, if the structure's set without power for a year, they're not gonna let you put it in there. They have to go back and re-inspect it.
That's correct, and you have to bring it up to code.
Yes, sir. And
That's
not
also
a problem.
federal code, not just, I want to make that clear.
Right. That's federal code that also Trump right now is talking about doing away with FEMA. I don't know how that's gonna reflect, how it's gonna affect us here, but that's what.
But
they're
that has
talking about.
nothing to do with our building code.
No, I understand that. But the code that you have as far as the current elevation that's at, where I need to be, if I were to be able to do that, it's not out.
Honestly, trailers aren't even allowed
back there anymore.
in the whole city.
Right, and that changed after Katrina, okay? So, yeah, I'm sitting here, what I would like, far-fetched thing, but can I get the permission to fix it up and make it nice?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, this will be a council decision, but if you would, I'd like to talk to some other people. I see some other people probably want to voice some concerns, if you would.
And if I may, I would also like to clarify that the windows are not boarded up. Mr. Cuevas boarded up the door of the trailer, but the windows are not boarded up.
Would anybody like to speak either for or against this? No? Okay, you want to come back up?
Like I say, it's been there for years. I've been working on this one for years. We went through a few code enforcement people, so it dropped through the cracks when we switched personnel and different stuff, but there's no way you'll be able to bring that up to code, because the 50% rule is something the council can't override. We don't have that power. So we can't say, go fix it, and don't worry about the 50% rule. That's beyond our power.
But on
So
the
we can't
50% rule, that's based on, that's the other thing I keep running into. It's not just on this, okay? Because you're right. I mean, as far as, like when a building goes without power for a year, the way the code's written, if you want to redo it, it has to be within a 50% deal, okay? What's
Yes
to
and
say if-
no.
what's to-
But you'd have to bring
That's
that-
about elevation.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, FEMA requires if it's over, if it costs more than 50% of the value to improve it, then you have to bring it up to elevation, up to FEMA codes. So the predicament that you're in here is that you would definitely, it would cost you more than 50% of the value of that trailer to bring it up to code. So then therefore that would require you to elevate the home to get it out of flood's way. So then if you went in and did that, okay, so if you went in and you decided to raise your trailer, the problem now becomes that trailers are no longer allowed in the city of Bay St. Louis. So you're not in compliance with the current zoning ordinances. So by allowing that, it would be granting you further non-compliance to the Bay St. Louis zoning ordinance. So you're dealing with two separate issues here.
But what you're talking about too, is you're talking about something that would like to have in, because, look, we didn't ask Katrina to come to the fight.
You have to
I mean-
speak into the mic, please, and speak to
I
the
mean,
council.
we didn't create the situation where Katrina came out and wiped out most of it.
So what are you
and-
going to do with this trailer? I mean, you live in Georgia.
Well, I mean, I'd like to stay there when I come back down. That's what I like to do.
When's the last time you've been here? I guess what I'm getting at is that it's been 21 years since Katrina, and all of a sudden when we say we're going to have to do something with this property, that you want to come and fix it up.
Well, no, because I haven't had a chance to really talk to anybody. I've been talking to the planning and zoning guys, and they just say, look, we ain't gonna do nothing. There's no discussion about it. And then I hear that, hey, look, if you have a house that you can work on, and it was at a certain set prior to the changes that they had with Katrina, and she's right, I cannot, I mean, if I have to change the elevation of it, there's no way I'm gonna get to be on the 50% rule. There's no way I can do that.
Well, the elevation doesn't come into the 50% rule. The 50% rule is what requires you to elevate the house. So if you can't fix the house, less than the 50% is two separate issues. So you would have to elevate the house in order to bring this into any sort of compliance. So then in order, once you elevate the house, then you are in further compliance of our zoning code. So that's why you were not grandfathered in.
So what are y'all asking to do that he has to either,
Well, we're not asking, I mean, we're bringing it to you as a public nuisance, and so this is your hearing for you to determine if this property is a public nuisance.
and if
And
we
a
declare
menace.
it's a nuisance, then we're gonna tear it down?
Correct.
Okay, yes.
Tear it down, move it out. Well, that is what we could do. I mean, ultimately, you declare it a menace, and then Mr. Cuevas would have the opportunity to go in and remove the property himself. If not, the city would have the opportunity to go in and do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm not trying to pass stuff. I'm not trying
Well,
to do
Mr.
that.
Cuevas, I would have to side with the city attorney on this, and Mr. DeSalvo. I mean, I've seen this trailer many times, and, I mean, I guess if it was something that you were working on a.
I can't work on it until I get, okay, I can't go in there and do anything to it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I've been living here for 30 years, and, you know, I drove through those areas because I lived back there after Katrina. I mean, before Katrina. And then when Katrina hit, you know, my grandmother's house was destroyed, my house was destroyed, my mom and dad's house was destroyed. But I guess the point is that I'm making is that it's just you haven't done anything in 21 years. And, you know, this is not fair to the rest of the property owners. And, you know, kids can get in there and play around or whatever. You know, they can get hit, you know, I mean, I'm sorry, get hurt. And it's also a fire hazard. You know, somebody could, you know, there are a lot of, there are many homeless people that, you know, get in and out of these little areas and start a fire, it could burn it down.
There's been no.
But it hadn't happened in 21 years, but I guess
There's been no
what I'm
police
saying
report.
is
There's
that,
no-
Not everything's
I mean,
reported.
if it's a nuisance, and I got all these people that are supposedly that are doing, why is the police been recorded?
well, I mean, they said they've had many things, but I'm gonna go ahead and close this hearing down and put it to a vote for the council.
I would, before you close the hearing, well, the hearing, you close it after all of that, but I would also like to just introduce as Exhibit B, which would be the entire file, including all of the pictures.
The thing that you.
Yes, correct. Just have all of that as Exhibit B.
Okay.
So you want a motion to
Well, there's actually, there's
add
a,
it into.
well, there's a
so I'm looking at-
resolution. You should have a resolution in front
Yeah,
of
I'm
you.
looking at some stuff in here.
Yeah. So, all right.
Is it different than what's in the folder?
A folder is attachments to the resolution. You should have a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Bay St. Louis authorizing the cleaning of private property and making provision for collection. And it's a whole rigmarole.
But what do you mean provision for collection? What are you talking?
That will come later. So if you do not clean the property, if the council declares the property to be a menace and you do not go in and clean it yourself, and the city has to clean the property, then what the city will do is bring back to the city council a resolution documenting what the city paid. And what will happen is you will be charged for that, and they can pass a resolution that will put it on your tax bill, your property tax bill, to be paid.
And how long do you normally give them to clean the property? What's the city's policy?
There's nothing set. I mean, sometimes it's a give and take on everyone to see if he's actually doing it. We never do anything before 10 days. We always wait at least 10 days before removing anything from the property. But, you know, ideally, it's always better if the homeowner can take care of these things themselves and not have to use city resources. So the city attempts to work with homeowners, but this allows a mechanism that if they just do not do it, then the city can move forward with doing it itself.
Is there, how long can you give me to move this thing if we have to?
I would actually, I would actually say that's not up for debate today. The better situation, I mean, if you declare it a menace, that just means that it has to be removed, and then Mr. Cuevas can work with the administration
Yes.
to provide for that.
And Heather, can you just give a quick snapshot of the level of correspondence and how long that's been going back and giving you notice about getting this cleaned up? I mean, that's been
I believe, I'd have to go back and look.
I
We
got
may have had
a
a,
notice, it was a year ago, year and a half ago. That was the first time I got anything on that.
because in the packet here, we do have multiple attempts and notices to notify you of the violation and opportunity to clean it up. So probably within that year, you've had that opportunity, so.
No,
Yeah, and this
I
is
did
going-
clean it up. I did clean it up when I got the notices
Yeah,
a year ago.
I think what they're saying is that cleaning up means, in other words, doing something substantial other than cutting the grass.
Yes. And I believe this property's actually been declared once.
That's what I was gonna
Fell through
say.
the
It's actually been
cracks and never got
declared,
cleaned up.
and at
It
the
should've
last
been
time,
done 2 years ago. but
correct. We've had, I'm nearly positive, we've had the,
We did 2 years ago.
yes.
I was out of
And
town that
Mr.
meeting.
Cuevas did
Okay.
go in and he cleaned the property as far as he went through and cut the grass and through. At the time, there was a lot of junk
Yeah.
outside. I want to
And
say an
then-
old washing machine and some other stuff. And he did go in and pick up that, but the trailer was still left there
Yeah, and
with
the junk
open
she's
windows and,
the junk she's referring to is people dumping on it.
Yes.
That's not for me.
which gets to the vagrant problem.
No, that's not vagrant. That's just people dumping.
And it's just
Mm,
an
there was-
eyesore for the neighborhood. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's really an eyesore. I don't think nobody in the room, if we put a picture on the screen, would want that next to their house, you know? Sitting here for 20 years, not being anything done with it, you know?
Well, yeah, but you got to realize that 20 years ago, you guys passed this thing as far as requirements, as far as not being able to get what you want to do. So it's not like you're putting it back there 20 years and nobody's didn't want to do anything.
And the law is still the same 20 years later. It's not changed.
Right.
So it's not changing right now. So the problem is 20 years ago, the 50% rule, you might have been a lot closer to it. Now you're not going to be
No,
close
it
to
was given to us like you couldn't, if you couldn't, they weren't going to do it because of the elevation requirement.
Yes.
That's what FEMA came out with.
Mhm.
Had nothing to do with the 50% rule, and that still applies right now.
Well, that's what you not understand. The thing about the 50% rule is if you can fix it below 50% of the value of the structure at the time it's damaged, you can repair that current elevation. If you can't, you have to elevate it to new FEMA guidelines, which is.
That's not what I was told by
1817.
building and zoning. That's not what I was told. I wasn't told that. I was told, hey, look, they're not going to have a trailer in that area, and we're not going to give you power, is what they told me.
There's still some trailers there that was fixed right after Katrina. They're still in Ward 6. But 20 years later, it's not.
Okay, I've heard enough. Everybody good?
And at this time, you could close the hearing.
Okay, I'm gonna close the hearing. Time is 6:14. Do we have a motion to declare this property a menace and add addendum B to this?
Well, it would be a motion to pass this resolution that's for you, which typically we don't read these, but this one we may want to,
The top of the whole resolution.
just the whole thing. You want me to?
Yes, read it.
Okay. So whereas pursuant to Mississippi Code Section 21-1911, the mayor and city council of the city of Bay St. Louis are authorized and empowered on their own motion to clean private property, which is a condition to be a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. And whereas it has been brought to the attention of the mayor and city council that certain property owned by Michael J. Cuevas and located at 3013 Second Street, Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, is in such a state of uncleanliness as to constitute a menace to public health, safety in violation of state law and local ordinance. And whereas the proper legal notice was provided as set forth in Exhibit A being all of the notices and pictures of the postings, whereas to date no action has been taken to bring the property into compliance with applicable health and safety standards, and whereas the mayor and city council are convinced that the condition of said property is such as to be a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community, and that the property should be cleaned, and whereas attached as collective Exhibit B are various pictures documenting the deteriorated and hazardous condition of the trailer and the parcel of land. And now therefore be it ordered by the mayor and city council of the city of Bay St. Louis as follows. The property 3013 Second Street, Bay St. Louis is declared to be a menace to the public health, safety, and welfare. If the owner does not do so himself, the city shall proceed to clean the property by use of city crews or an outside contractor at the choice of the city. The city may cut the grass and weeds, fill cisterns, remove rubbish, remove dilapidated fences, remove outside toilets, remove dilapidated buildings, personal property, which removal of such personal property shall not be subject to the provisions of Mississippi Code 213921 and drain cesspools and standing water. The city will remove trailer and the shed from the property. If addressed by an outside contractor, the city will follow mandates as set forth in public bid law. If the city proceeds with cleaning the property, upon completion of the activities related to the cleaning of the property, the mayor and city council shall determine the actual cost incurred by the city. The mayor and city council shall then adopt a resolution determining the amount of the actual cost incurred and consider the imposition of a penalty not to exceed 50% of the actual cost, with the imposition of a penalty of $1,500, whichever is greater, and shall determine the appropriate method for collecting same against the property identified herein. Whew.
Thank you. Motion.
Got it.
Motion from Councilman
Oh.
Salvo. You have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Lewis. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. Ms. Cuevas, I would get with the building department and determine the time frame, you know, to get the trailer moved or removed, or and you know, they can set the time frame for you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you,
Let's see. Planning and zoning. Motion to file a planning and zoning's recommendation to approve the application submitted by Daniel Esteves for a variance of 3 foot resulting in a 5-yard setback on the right side of property located at 328 State Street, parcel number 149 F Frank -0-29-330.002. Planning and zoning recommended approval 5-0.
So I've talked to Mr. Estevez, and basically he had an existing structure there, and we had granted him a variance back years ago, and then this is just closing it in, basically, so he's squaring it up and asking for the
Continuation of
same thing
non-conformance.
that it was prior.
Is there a motion there?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Planning and zoning and approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Hoffman to follow planning and zoning's recommendation. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. Councilman Seal. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Motion to follow planning and zoning's recommendation and approve the application submitted by Jeanine LaFrance for a variance of 2 foot resulting in an 8-foot fence height along the rear of the property located at 200 St. George. What's that?
We just voted that.
No.
No,
We did that one.
Fence.
second one.
Second one.
No, that was the, number,
That was
Ten.
setback, this is the fence.
so we're on 11. Jeannie LaFrance, for a variance of 2 foot, resulting in an 8-foot fence height along the rear of the property along 200 St. George Street, parcel 149 F Frank -0-29-204.000, approved by Planning and Zoning 3-2. Any discussion?
I also spoke with Ms. LaFrance and looked at this. I know she initially asked for a 12-foot fence.
10 foot.
10 foot.
10 foot.
10.
I mean, a 10-foot fence, yeah, a 4-foot variance, and they settled at an 8-foot fence with a 2-foot variance. So there is a pool house that's been built and a pool behind her that seems to be the main cause of the issues. And just privacy is the main concern, so on both sides. So
Yeah, that's pretty good
I think
size.
it's a pretty good idea to put up an 8-foot fence and keep it private, but that's my opinion on it.
And it looks like, just based on the letter from the homeowner, it seems it's kind of a twofold. You know, it is privacy. I guess there's individuals from what the owner said that's peering over the fence, but also there's a noise. I guess they're looking to do a noise barrier, which obviously fences can help with that. I don't know if they were planning on filling any spaces. I don't know if it, noise travels. So the 6 foot versus 8 foot, what works better from the noise standpoint? But I think the request was predicated on those two items. And so I'm guessing, Gene, the correspondence you had was that the individuals may be looking over the fence. That's what necessitated going higher than the allowed 6?
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to follow planning and zoning's recommendation and approve the requested variance to the fence to be an
Okay.
8-foot fence.
Got a motion to approve by Councilman Hoffman, follow planning and zoning's recommendation for an 8-foot fence.
Second.
Second by Councilman Seal. Vote, any discussion? Vote to motion?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries 5-2. Are they here? Yep, you're good. Mayor's report. Discuss the authorization for administration to sign adjacent property owners authorization form. This is what you were talking about, John?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about it. Mike, you wanna present, or can put your mic?
Yeah, what it is, we own a little slither of property next to this property, and to move forward, they need, approval from DMR's asking for approval from the neighboring property owner, which is us. It's,
I believe it's at the end of a canal, isn't
it's
it?
at the, yeah,
Yes.
at the end of a canal, boathouse being built, and that's pretty much I think it's our drainage that goes through there,
Something that's platted
just,
city property.
yep.
So who would retain ownership of the property that they're building on?
Yeah,
Nothing
no,
changes.
nothing
It's just the
changes
fact
with
that
property.
it's close.
This is just allowing them to build this boathouse.
They're not building on city property.
They're not building on city property.
We're just the adjacent property.
Correct. We're just the
Yeah,
adjacent
we're
property
adjacent.
owner, and I did not feel comfortable with the administration signing off on
So,
that.
I'm looking at the picture of the
Mhm.
thing. Which one's the city property?
That little red.
The end of the canal.
Right.
One and a
What
hash.
is that?
So they're not really
That little-
interfering with city property at all.
No, that little
No.
ditch.
I'm a poll the council if y'all wanna vote a motion on this, Gene.
I
If you
think,
wanna allow a motion on it,
I think so, yes.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, we can allow one. There just need to be a correction in this letter. December 13th, 2025. They discussed in a meeting, that date haven't gotten here yet. I think they meant 2024.
Yeah.
Josh, I know you're good.
And that was the letter from the homeowner.
Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, I'm fine, and I can understand and appreciate the concern, Councilman Knobloch, on getting this the day of. I mean, we have discussed this in the past too, and we want to have ample amount of time to look at it, and the public as well, even though there's no law out there. I think it's courtesy to make sure this is posted. So I can appreciate what you're saying on that, but yeah, I'm okay with voting on it tonight.
Councilman Davis?
I'm okay with voting on it.
Councilman Seal? Good. Okay. Josh, you wanna?
Make a motion to authorize the administration to sign the letter stating that we have no problems with them building the boathouse to the adjacent property.
Do you have got a motion, Councilman, DeSalvo to, allow the city to permit them building the boathouse?
Second.
Second by Councilman Seal. Any discussion? Vote to motion?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0.
Thank y'all. We did just
Thank
get
you.
this tonight too, we voted on.
No, that was on the motion.
I didn't see that plan.
Let's see. Mike, you good? You got anything else? Nope.
Good.
Block cameras. So, Chief, would you come up? Okay, so I've been getting a lot of calls with the flock cameras, and would you state y'all's perspective on these cameras and why they're needed?
Well, it's a tool for law enforcement. Very valuable tool.
So how are we
So
running that
I guess,
process now? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I'm
Well, I
sorry.
mean, it's used for solving crimes. It's used for a lot.
So I guess the issue that I have is really just putting cameras out there and taking people's movements and stuff like that.
No.
And that's what it does. So I guess I'm not really clear on how this information's maintained. Where does it go? Who gets to look at it?
It's accessible by law enforcement only. I'm not really sure what the question is because we use this flock system. They're nationwide. We don't maintain anything. It's all maintained by flock.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is that, you know, this age of you know, technology and everything, and everybody's movements is being watched. You know.
Well,
and
this is
this is just
capturing
another-
images on a public roadway where people drive down it and everybody can see it. There's a case law out there that says it's okay. If you had specific questions, maybe.
I know, so, I know y'all read the article about Ocean Springs, but we had a very in-depth discussion tonight that this came before the city council. We discussed what it could be used for, how it could be used.
Yeah, but now
I'm not all in this conspiracy theory that we're gonna track me. Doug Seal went down
No,
Main
Doug, I'm
Street,
not
turned
saying-
left on,
very
with
valid.
with his
No,
motorcycle.
no.
Just listen.
Wait, hold on. You're
listen.
saying the
I'm talking.
conspiracy theory,
Listen to me.
but it's
Listen.
no conspiracy theory.
I'm talking, listen. Okay, because that's what I heard. Well, they're gonna track my movements. Well, my kids and grandkids play on my street every day, right? In a very clear, concise, what they told us. If a red truck comes down your street with a white label on the back of it in the window, and they take your child or your grandchild, they can put that information in the computer, and they can find that truck. That's the most important thing to me. That's what explained. We had a big, long discussion the night they were here. We talked about this. It wasn't no secret vote. Wasn't no secret behind the doors. We discussed this in public, specific details about that. And that's what I'm like, dude, that is cool, right? That is great. They're gonna find my grandchild if he just got kidnapped because he's got a red truck and a white symbol in the back. They can put that in the system and they find it, right? That's what's important to me. That's public safety, right? I get it. You know, we worry about tracking people, facial recognition system. I get that part, right? But I'm talking about safety for our city, right? It's on every interstate, every license plate reader's on the interstate. It says, hey, we found this guy that had these two kids. They kidnapped a kid. We found him by the tag because we saw him get off on this. They didn't get past this intersection, so we assumed they got off in this area. We narrowed it down. We caught them, right? So that's part of the camera system, how it works. I get the rest of we worried about the government tracking us, worried about people facial, and I understand that. But today, as a 60-year-old, that don't concern me. Public safety concerns me, and this is a huge tool that can be used. Right or wrong, that's how I feel about it. And I will continue to beat the drum unless somebody just tells me I'm just crazy for thinking this, but I think this is a good system. And it's used today.
And Councilman Seal, nobody's debating the merits and the intent. And when we first had this discussion at that time, again, no one's debating that, but I think there's information since I think that was back in August, there have been several suits by citizens in many municipalities. I think there's class actions at this point. After what we knew this program to be because of the potential violation of the Fourth Amendment rights, and you mentioned again, yes, we have access right for 30 days is kind of what that was told to us by Chief Toby.
It'll maintain whatever it reads for 30.
But it does go, and again, this is coming from the article and looking at some of these other suits, but the owner of this information is Flock, and they have access for this to go in their cloud, and they have algorithms and AI to be able to monitor, track, get patterns. So they have access to all of this data.
I don't understand it that way. They don't sit there and monitor they don't monitor this information and track.
Not saying
they
monitor, but it goes into a cloud that has the potential to have patterns and
everything we do goes into a cloud these days, just about.
Okay, so but again, the decision we made, and I don't disagree, Councilman Seal, it is for safety. And I would love to look at the statistics of, and I think Flock System said there's 5,000 municipalities in the country that are using this. what that percentage of those municipalities are actually, is it 1% that are actually solving crimes based on this system? It's probably a very low percent, and I'm not negating, those are all important. That 1%'s huge. Every case they can help solve is very important, but I think, again, the concerns have been brought to us by some concerned citizens, as there's other class action suits out there about the violation of the Fourth Amendment. And I guess my question too would be, do we have the ability to, defend that potential liability? And so again, I think it'd be remiss of us not to discuss this, as it's happening nationwide, it's happening in other states and other municipalities. And I think for us, again, to me, when we were discussing this, and I think I asked, I don't want this to be used as ticketing, or we want this to truly be used to solve, and we verify that's what it's for. Not knowing what some of these potential
I don't mean to interrupt you,
ramifications
but you're saying a whole lot at one time, and I'm not.
Well, I didn't ask you a specific question, but I'm letting you know, because you weren't here at the time. It was Chief Toby that brought this to us.
So this isn't for ticketing.
I know that. I know that, and I said this at the first
Um,
meeting. It was, and that's not the intent of this.
If it's a needed thing, detectives can access it, police officers can access it. It only takes the picture of vehicles on a public roadway. It's not people's addresses. It's not specific to houses.
No, it's the make and model.
We only have a handful of them here in the city, so if something like that happens, it would be great if that vehicle passes in front of it, but we don't know if it ever will. What else were you saying? Oh, if you want to know what Flock does with that information, you'll have to ask them, because as far as I know, they do nothing with it. It's just stored.
But we should have. We need to do our due diligence to know what Flock does with it. So
as far as I know, they hold it, and they
hold it in the cloud.
Second cloud or whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as using it, my understanding is they do nothing with it. It's for us to access.
So I guess my question again, from a legal standpoint, there are other suits out there. So what's the legal take on this?
There are, but there's also 14 states have upheld this. The Ninth Circuit and the 11th Circuit has also upheld this. There's a case that's pending in Virginia that's, to be determined. It was basically, they asked for a motion to dismiss, and the judge let them move forward with discovery. So that's way too early. So like anything with new technology, these things come up. This is nothing new in Alvin's world. Different constitutional challenges come up all the time. So, am I going to sit here and say Bay St. Louis can never get sued over this? Absolutely not. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you can't be sued over anything. Anybody in this room can sue us over any given item. But I can tell you that 14 states and 2 circuits that it's been in front of have upheld these as constitutional.
Somebody wanted to make a comment back there, so come on up, please. State your name and address.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Bazoo Jr. I live at 216 Citizen Street, and I have a short statement prepared. Like I said, my name is John Bazoo Jr. This city is more than just a place to live. It's a community built on trust, respect, and shared responsibility. That's why I stand before you today, not in opposition to public safety initiatives, Councilman Seal, but in support of a balanced approach, one that upholds both security and privacy, transparency, and accountability. The Bay St. Louis Police Department emphasizes community policing, building partnerships, fostering trust, and working with residents to solve problems together. But true community policing also means engaging the public before major surveillance tools or militarized equipment are introduced. The recent deployment of flock safety cameras happened with little or no public discussion. This raises concerns not just about privacy, but also about who oversees this technology, how the data is used, and whether sufficient safeguards exist to protect residents. Automated license plate recognition technology such as flock cameras can be a valuable tool for law enforcement when used properly. However, it also presents serious risks if left unchecked, including misuse of data, wrongful investigations, and a shift away from community-driven policing and toward broad intelligence gathering and surveillance. Even Mississippi law prohibits automated traffic enforcement, signaling that state lawmakers recognize the dangers of unchecked surveillance. Another issue on tonight's agenda is a motion to approve the purchase of 12 M4 EX03 assault rifles and associated equipment for the Bay St. Louis Police Department. As a retired Army officer with firsthand combat experience, I know exactly what these weapons are designed to do and what they can do to the human body. I strongly question whether our city needs military-grade weapons in the hands of local police. We should ask ourselves, does introducing military-style weapons align with the principles of community policing? What specific threats justify the needs for these weapons in Bay St. Louis? If this purchase is truly necessary, what policies will govern their use? And just as with the flock cameras, this decision is being made without sufficient public discussion. Even more concerning is how this purchase is being funded, through a private donation from an individual citizen. What precedents does this set for future donations of police equipment? Does this create an avenue for private interest to shape local law enforcement policy? Should these decisions be part of a well-planned public safety budget, not left to private contributions? Moreover, as we discuss the expansion of surveillance and the purchase of military-style weapons, is it worth asking, how else could these funds have been used to improve public safety? Would the money spent on flock cameras and military-grade weapons have been enough to recruit, train, and employ an additional police officer? The cost to employ a new police officer for a year is substantial, but so is the combined cost of the flock system and these new weapons. If the goal is truly to improve public safety, is technology and firepower the answer, or is more well-trained personnel what we really need? Tonight, I'm calling on the City Council to take immediate and decisive action. First, a motion to vote and suspend use of the flock cameras. The City Council should immediately cease the use of these cameras until the issue has been fully reviewed, vetted, and discussed with the public. If the cameras do not meet legal and ethical standards, they should be removed entirely. 2, disapprove the purchase of military-style weapons. The council should reject the proposed purchase of assault rifles, period. 3, commit to transparency. The City Council should publicly disclose the policies governing flock cameras and the acquisition of military-grade weapons and provide regular updates as these issues are reviewed. 4, implement oversight. I urge the council to discuss the establishment of a public safety oversight committee to ensure accountability, transparency, and a robust community engagement. Lastly, engage the public. I respectfully request that the council schedule a dedicated public forum within the next 60 days where residents can ask questions and express concerns before making permanent decisions on these issues. I recognize that policy decisions take time, and I respect the council's process. I'm not asking for a rushed action, but rather for clear commitment to addressing these concerns in a timely and transparent manner. Bay St. Louis is a city with deep traditions, strong values, and a history of looking out for one another. Let's continue that tradition, not by expanding surveillance and militarization without oversight, but by working together to ensure public safety without compromising the very freedoms that make this community so special. Furthermore, Flock is a private company, and they store their data, and nothing says that they will never sell themselves to the highest bidder or to another business. So that is something to take into consideration, that right now it's owned by Flock, but it might not always be owned by Flock. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody want to make any comments?
Thank Mr. John for his service, but as someone that has a son in law enforcement and someone that had one of the officers that was killed a couple of years ago live in my ward, and I spent the day at his wife's house with them. I believe we need to give them all the tools they need to do their job effective, be safe, and I'll always support the police department. If it comes out one day that we can't do it because Supreme Court rules something else, we'll deal with it then, but I'm gonna back the police officers and give them what they need.
Anybody else want to say anything? Thank you. Go ahead. You gotta have to come up to the podium. State your name and address, please.
Louis Zane, 424 Thorn Park. Another thing about the Flock is that it not necessarily have to have a license plate. It makes a thing, it'll take a picture of your automobile without a license plate, and it'll also make a fingerprint. Make, model, color, any distinctive marks, accessories on the vehicle. It'll take all of that. It doesn't need a license plate. Then that's with the AI. Also, it tracks you from one to one to one. You leave Bay St. Louis, you go to Waveland, it'll track you there. They can take it and follow you. You can go wherever they at in these 5,000 cities, is the same thing. They just track you all over. And I think the information, they moved the suit forward, Judge. and he's based it on cell towers. The cell towers ping you 1111. They need a warrant to catch that information. They don't need a warrant to gather this information. This is available, and they can just spit it out.
You know, it's always, you know, I have a long law enforcement background, and it's always been, actually, we formed the first intelligence unit in Fort Worth, Texas, back in 1986. We were the first unit to ever be able to maintain records. However, in order to maintain any intelligence, you had to maintain some criminal predicate on somebody before you could start investigating. It just wasn't, you couldn't just maintain information for the reason of maintaining information. And Alvin, I guess that's the question to you is, when you search this, you have some type of criminal predicate that you're looking for. Yeah, you're gonna have to answer that one.
And, well, I'll let.
Yeah, you can come on. So in other words, just like if you're doing an NCIC check on somebody, you have to log it why you're doing it when you're checking somebody, right?
No.
No?
No.
You don't
But
have
to
do
answer your
that?
original question is, for the flock safety system or the camera system, if any of our officers are to log in, they have their own login. So if you had access to it as a HOA, well, even HOAs have access to this.
What's HOA?
Limited homeowners association, Lowe's, schools, businesses. It, like, you know, they have.
They can log into that?
Absolutely.
Under their, not under our contract, that's under.
Their own.
They cannot
can
log
have
into
their own.
ours, they have their own systems, let's make that correction, that
Yeah,
is not the
but-
city of Bay St. Louis's block
No,
system.
but like they were saying, over 5,000, there's more than that because that's, you know, there's other people that have it. And if it's needed to, law enforcement can access the data that camera captures. And you're right, it would be in lieu of an investigation of some sort. And it will tell you who did it, when they did it, there'll be a case number attached to it.
That's for the police department side.
For us,
To maintain the criminal predicate. In
Right.
other words, you're just not grabbing Joe Blow's information just because.
Yeah, and I looked on their website, and it says all of their images and metadata is encrypted throughout its entire life cycle, which is 30 days. Flock uses, now this is public because it's all on their website, an Amazon Web Service and KMS-based encryption, limiting access with encryption keys. It's all criminal justice data stored in an AWS Gov cloud, so it's not just a regular cloud, I suppose. And it's only available to law enforcement agencies. No information is shared with non-law enforcement.
That's what I think most people want to hear and know. Because I just would have a problem with that. Some private company was just maintaining data, and I know they all do it because, let's face it, you got a smartphone, they're clicking, you click on it, and then they know exactly what you did. I click on something, the next thing you know, they're trying to sell me some kind of concrete mixing machine.
You don't even have to click on it, you can talk about it.
You gotta talk about it, you ain't gotta click.
But my biggest thing is that the police department's gonna maintain this information in a confidential way, and so it doesn't get misused.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, we don't maintain it, but we do maintain who accesses it.
Does anybody?
Alvin, I have a question. What do we have out there now? Is it license plate readers? or-
That's all it does. It takes a picture of a vehicle, and like you said a minute ago, it could be a red truck with a white cab and a base, whatever sticker on the back of it. And if it, wherever it goes, you know, if it passes one of these cameras and it hits on that hit, then we can potentially find it.
So that's
But it's
what-
not always a guarantee.
So is that what we have up right now?
They're called LPRs, license plate recognition cameras, and that's what they,
And they're taking pictures of cars right now?
yeah.
How many do we have?
Well, I got a problem with that right now because I did file a police report because they got one set up right on our property across from MLK Park.
Like I just said, you're not gonna catch everybody on them.
Well, I mean, it's right there on the property.
I don't know. I'd have to look and see if it was.
Well, would you
know,
look and
it's
see for me?
Mhm.
Okay.
I assume that was already done and they talked to you about it, but I'll
Are you
check.
are you
I'll
saying
make
it's
sure.
in the right of way or it's not in the right of way?
It is in the right of way, but it's facing the road. He had some people go onto his property and hoping that maybe it got caught by this camera. which we can look into.
Okay.
So,
If it was running at that time, I'm not sure. These just got implemented.
so Chief, another question. You know, we had a rash of people breaking into cars late at night, whether it was kids or whatever. I think we caught a few of them, but, you know, in kind of switching areas of the city, they would go in Ward 1 at one point in time, and then they'd be in Ward 3, and then they'd be in Ward 2 and out in Ward 5. But they would go into cars late at night looking basically for guns and money, and pretty much leave everything else alone. But would this do anything to catch something like that, or they would have to be riding around in a vehicle for it to make any sort of identification?
Well, let's just say they're using a vehicle for that, and we're able to.
But if they're just walking
No,
house
it
to
wouldn't,
house,
it
or
wouldn't do any good.
riding on a bicycle house to house,
It'd be a vehicle of some sort.
it has to be a vehicle to be,
It's got an algorithm that I guess takes pictures of vehicles.
How many of those we have set up in the city right now?
13.
How many?
13.
13? Okay.
And Councilman Alvin, I know referring to, I probably got 20 ring videos that were
Yeah.
sent to me showing that individual, and we
Mhm.
pass those on to the police. But, I mean, so there's cameras out there catching that. But so this is strictly vehicles, though. So in Councilman Reed's instance, it would not pick up individuals walking. It's just strictly pick up their car.
Well, the person walking didn't do that.
Okay, so
Alvin, can you just comment, in the last week, 2 weeks, has there been any crimes solved on the coast because of our cameras?
Our camera specifically?
I guess all coast-wide. I mean,
Well, just
I didn't
last
wanna
week, I think
say-
Pastor Shan had a
say his name.
shooting, and the vehicle description was given out. They were able to use the data from the cameras to solve that. Does that sound right?
I know when the gun shop on 603 got broken into, the system somewhere else, I think, helped identify that one.
do we have the camera that can detect, because I was looking on the website where it can, that it can detect the sound of a gunshot? No, so it's just strictly the camera?
Anybody got anything else? Thanks, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, there's somebody up
You
here.
done?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Zink. Mr. John?
John Oman, 110 Demont Avenue. I don't want to be talking over my head here, but there's merit to the gentleman's suggestion about opening this subject up broadly for public input and whatever. We're about 5 weeks away from an election right now. I think it would be a mistake to initiate anything like that right now. It presents too much of an opportunity for posturing and misunderstandings. I think it's something well worth keeping in mind, but I would delay it until there's a new council and administration in place, whoever that might be. Thank you.
Thank
Running today.
you. Okay, let's see. I think the chief was just said that the information is only used by this police department, but it does go to Flock.
Well, I think it goes to the integrity of the police officers that we have and putting full faith in them. We do that every day that they come to work. You know, you always hear about things happening a lot, you know, with police here and police there and all. but I think the integrity we have in our police department is second to none, and, you know, I go to bat for them, I know the chief will, and the rest of them and everything else.
And,
I mean, there's not a 1000% guarantee on anything in life, but you gotta have faith in the ones that's trying to help you out there and protect you.
And I don't think that the police department would actively misuse the information. Could it happen? Sure, it could.
I know
Wow.
years ago, so same thing happened years ago, right? Police officer or somebody can call in dispatch, they say, run this tag for me, right? It happens, it can happen, right? And the people can be fired, right? It's illegal use of the system, there's a law against that, right? That's it's a law in place today. From the illegally use that, it was pretty, God has been in service a long time, lost his career over this, right? So there's systems in place legally today, they cannot misuse this information. If they can, they can be legally fired, and they can be prosecuted. So today, state law says that you cannot illegally use this information for personal gain.
Well, and I just
The
want to.
case happened years ago, you know, so it's not something new. It's just, it was a license plate. Hey, I called in, hey, XYZ, oh, this is Doug Seals' license plate. This is XYZ, where he lives. Guy lost his career and was terminated legally because misuse of public information for personal gain.
Taking pictures of trucks, it reads more.
Because they have their own login, they have their own encrypted login that they're supposed to have. Doug Seal has his password. Doug Seal got in here. We can talk about this for days. If you buy something from Temu, China's got your information. It's all they got, buddy.
So,
Right?
Hold on, I'm a stop it right here.
Yeah, let's move forward.
So, and again, and no one's questioning the credibility or the usage of this from a local level, but I also want to preface, I mean, we can't be naive. I don't know if anybody's in healthcare. 6 months ago, Change Healthcare is a big clearinghouse that over millions of Americans were affected and hacked into a system, couldn't get medications. It was a big deal, and it was held for ransom. So we can't be naive to think that that can't happen. And we're not saying, again, I'm not conspiracy theorists saying that could. There is that potential. It's been done before. And I think the premise of this is, again, our decision was predicated on public safety. No one's debating that. No one's debating what the efficacy of this is for the intent of our officers. But again, there is the potential, and there's an unknown factor of where this information is stored, who has access to it. Mr. John, you brought it up. If this company is sold, how is that information conveyed? So it's just bringing awareness. Again, it shouldn't be the last time we discuss it. I'd love to hear from a Flock rep. We pay a lot of money for it. Love to hear some more information on, you know, Chief, you discussed how they safeguard it, but we'd love to talk more on it. But it's just bringing an awareness. And again, it's not conspiracy. It's happened.
Just come up. Yeah. Flock and the police department, and that contract can be amended.
Heather,
And
I mean,
there
it's a city contract, correct?
There are best practices put in place that are available online that have been shown to work throughout the nation. Things like, instead of storing the data for 30 days, store the data for 3 minutes. There's absolutely no issue with that, and they can do this. It does help safeguard people's information, and so I think that's one of those things to look at. We don't just have to accept what Flock gives us because they're Flock, right? We can't get Flock, right? They're here to sell. They are here just like all data collectors, like you said, my smartwatch, my smartphone, and so forth and so on. They are here to collect our data. They are a private company collecting data, and they sell it under the guise of providing a tool, which it is, absolutely is. And if I had children, I would absolutely want to make sure that if an Amber Alert went out, that as soon as the guy got to Louisiana, they catch it. Absolutely, no problem, no doubt in my mind. However, as a private citizen, I also don't want some person, whoever it might be, and someone who may receive the data from Flock, knowing where I worship, who I associate with, where I work, what my movements are, any of those things. That's just me. So I do the best to try and protect my safety and the safety of the people around me. That's all. But anyway, so we can amend contracts too. We don't have to just take their word for it.
Thank you. Yes. I believe it's a private company. Yeah. No, I don't know who owns it though.
No, it's not true. It's American. I do.
So,
Go ahead.
what I want to find out is, what do we have set up right now? We got 13 cameras. What are they doing right now? What are the cameras doing?
There is a map.
Are they only reading license plates?
Only thing they do is read license plates. Well, they, yeah, but,
It makes a time and date stamp, the vehicle, make, model, and so forth, which can be associated to the vehicle, but every vehicle and every license plate is associated to a person. And so, by default, they are not just tracking the vehicle, they're tracking potentially the person that owns that vehicle at every place that they are, every single time they pass a camera. So if you drive from Bay High, pass a camera there, drive past Washington Street, pass a camera there, past MLK Park, or whatever it is, you've been hit 3 times. And they know exactly that you came at this time of the day, on this day, and not only that, but you may have been associated with 3 or 4 people that drove the exact same route.
So that's what's happening right now?
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now, this moment.
Okay. That's what I need to know. So in reading license plates, we know basically who owns that license plate, who owns that vehicle.
yeah.
Someone up there that has access to the cloud.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I just have to trust that the police department has safeguards built in and hope that it doesn't get.
They don't even control that part of it. It's not a closed system within Basic Lewis. It's at the blocks level. So just like we said with the healthcare system, if someone holds them for ransom or gets into our system, it can go nationwide. There's no safeguard that they can even put in place. They've done their part, which is have their passwords and so forth and individual login credentials. That they can get in. That's it. So we know when the chief accesses the system. We know when police officers, so forth, access the system. That's all we can do. That's it.
Well, I think we can follow this info.
We expanded government on our soil. That's what we did. Big government on our soil.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lane, you want to say something? Okay, thank you, Mr. Bazoo, for giving us some information. And I think going forward, we need to just monitor and see where it goes at this point.
Yeah, keep the public involved.
It's based in China?
Do, 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 do.
Let's go.
Well, we'll talk more on it. That next item, council business, an awake zone?
Yes, Garden Isle got a petition signed by 54 people wanting to make no wake zones. What we have to do is pass a resolution, send it to DMR, and they actually do it. Speaking with Ms. Smith, we discussing doing a low wake zone, maybe through the entire area in the city limits of Bay St. Louis, just because that's one of the VRBO things back there. You get a lot of VRBOs, people come with boats in that ward, and then they just go up and down the bayous too fast, so.
That would cover in all areas, right?
All
John?
areas,
Yeah.
yes. So if we did all of Bay St. Louis, it would.
Now, would
affect
that
some
affect just Jordan River itself?
No.
All
It's a
the-
wide open
And-
waterway, just
yes,
the
and so
local canals.
Yes, the idea would be just the canals. And so
fingers.
that is one thing that we are in communication with DMR to figure out exactly how to frame this ordinance, because we're a little unique. You know, most cities, if they have a no wake ordinance, it might be a 50-foot area that's very easily definable. So we're working with DMR to try to figure that out. When I saw it on the agenda, I started making some calls and doing some research. So, but didn't want to go too far if you guys weren't interested in doing it. If you are, hopefully we'll have everything to bring back to you for the
I
next
mean, they
council
used to
meeting.
have no wake zones out there.
Well, what happens, a lot of times people will go stick a no wake zone sign up, but that doesn't mean it's an official no wake zone.
Yeah, because this should be official once,
So how would you enforce it?
The way I wrote it was allowing, I mean, if the city ever wanted to, let's do some sort of marine control, we could, but we would also wrote in the ordinance that DMR and Wildlife and Fisheries or the Sheriff's Department, any of those people could enforce it.
and right now, there's nothing in place for it,
Yeah.
so.
I'm good. Anybody got any discussion on it?
It's just, yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing it, it's never enforced. There's 2 official wake zones in Jordan River, that's by the by the McLeod Park, and the one by the steamer, it's the only 2 on Jordan River, that's legal. They're never enforced. Don't have the people to do it. And I mean, it's a great idea. It's great. And put signs up and maybe it will slow down.
I
'Cause
will say.
You are washing the banks
One
away,
up by
right?
the park is pretty, it's enforced.
I stayed out there, yeah. I've never seen one boat pulled over.
I'm not saying 24/7, but I've seen
Yeah.
them pulling them over up there for.
Yeah,
for-
I've never seen a boat pulled over and I camp up there. And again, they might, but I've just never seen a single boat pulled over up there while I've camped. And unless they got somebody there, and it's hard. It's great to do it because they're just washing the banks away. And some idiots, they might slow down because they see a sign. It's a great idea. I don't mind it, but it's just
Important thing, I
it's hard
guess,
to
is to
enforce.
realize that right now, even if it's hard to enforce right now, you have
I have
no way
nothing.
to enforce it.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
it
if,
is.
if there's one person that was causing, wreaking havoc every weekend, you'd have,
Right. Got something to do.
yeah.
So I guess we'll just enter the
You gonna come back next
petition in
thing with a
and then
resolution?
bring a
to vote
resolution
on?
back for
Yeah,
next
sure.
meeting?
Yes, and I would just ask if any of you have any comments or thoughts, just reach out to me over the next week or so.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, audit status. So everybody got the letter from the AVL? That's all they have? So have y'all provided all the information that they asked
We're
for?
still providing, I got a list of grant information they asked me for yesterday or today and started sending them more. Will be on property with, tomorrow morning, 8 to 5, and Thursday and Friday, which has been scheduled for about 8 weeks.
Is
So this is their first time coming on property.
Is the former predecessor of the auditors, are they now working with the new group? Because it seemed to be a delay.
There was definitely a delay, to the point I had to sick, I threatened to sick Heather on them. They were not providing the information we were asking for. And then finally, we did a conference call at AVL with them. And we were able to get most of the information we'd asked for.
Why are they
Definitely delayed.
Why are they not providing information?
They said some of it was proprietary, which generally from talking to auditors, there's like a packet that they hand off to the new auditors. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of audits in cities and changing auditors, and I've never had a problem like that. But it was definitely, I'm talking about like 6+ month delay. I think it was August that we finally had some better give and take, let's just call it.
And we're in correspondence with them during that time period when they were not being
Absolutely.
compliant and
Oh.
giving that information.
Multiple. That's why I told one of the principals that I'll just have Heather give them a call and we'll pursue matters another way. And then I was able to get my conference call. That way the auditors can talk to auditors and they can talk about the information they wanted to get. So that's over my head. But again, they'll be on property for the next 3 days, probably 5 people. This is our first time having them on property. And that was scheduled probably for 6 or 8 weeks.
Seems that there was a debate between the two professional firms as to what information should have been turned over and not.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's just really late on the audit. Okay,
I would agree.
yeah. So it'll probably be late April, May before it's done?
That's what Jerry has indicated, yes.
Okay. Anybody got any more questions on that? Let's see where we at. March 4th meeting date. So is that conflicting with Mardi Gras?
Yes. It's Mardi Gras Day, which is a holiday. Therefore, your meeting should just basically be the next day,
March 5th, right?
March 5.
Now we gotta do that one because of a ordinance, or we can move it to the next day because of a holiday?
I think it automatically moves based on state law that if your meeting falls on a holiday, it's the next day.
Are the people gonna be in any condition to come?
Ash Wednesday.
It's Ash Wednesday.
Right. Okay, so March 4th is Ash Wednesday?
No, March 4th is Mardi
Okay,
Gras
the next
holiday.
meeting
Would be March 5th.
will be March
Next
5th.
the next business day.
Okay. Where'd Caitlin go?
I think she went to get public forum.
Okay. Council business, Gene, you have anything?
Yeah, Mike, real quick,
Sure.
any word on the lights over at the old City Hall tennis courts?
Yeah, they're supposed to be looking at that. Mississippi Power's supposed to be looking at that, put similar to what we have in the, parking garage and the new ones that's gonna go in back at the community hall, something like that.
Any time frame on that? Cause that's the same thing
Yeah.
you said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I'll check with Ronnie and see where they at on that.
All right, and, what about the speed humps, the speed tables?
They came in, last week, so they got them on. Oh, wait, that's for Doug. No, they do have some other ones coming in for pieces to go with what we have. You talking about the asphalt?
Yeah, I'm talking about the actual speed tables.
Yeah, Ronnie had put something together on those, and he's working with the asphalt guy as far as size and everything, what they can do on that.
Do we have any time frame on that?
I will check on that also.
All right, and, last thing is that, that grade I had called you about, or talked to you about on State Street.
I think they went by there and checked on that.
Did they do anything with it, or?
I think they fixed it.
Okay.
They, Ronnie had it on a work order to go through there.
All right, I'll have to go out there and check tomorrow, because I think the residents don't feel like it's fixed. But
Okay.
I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Jeffrey?
Well, Ms. Kenichi, you got a report to do tonight? Okay, I just wait for his report.
Was that one?
Yeah, this is just a general inquiry. I think this is something we'll probably be discussing at the next meeting, but it's in regards with the legal invoice that we received today. And I guess just for my clarification, what's included in the general legal to where, like, so we were charged for the tenants of MML. Is that something that the city's obligation for the tenants of an MML conference?
You shouldn't have been charged for attendance at MML.
Okay, so
So if you send that to me, Kyle, I'll make sure to look at it.
Okay.
It might be just a data entry error.
Okay.
I look at them, my secretary looks at them, so usually we catch stuff like that, but it could be something that
Yeah,
just slipped through.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I just saw that today.
Yeah, no, send that to me, because that definitely should not be there.
Okay, will do. All right, that's all I got, Councilman Alva.
Is it? Ms. Davis?
Okay.
Doug?
Oh, good. Hungry.
I had a few things, but I forgot. Buggy's beat me up today. He'll come to me before the end of the meeting. Okay, let's see, we got public forum. Judy McGowan, you already spoke, we already talked about the garden, okay. Brent Carver?
My name's Brent Carver. I live on 242 Citizen Street. I'm sure most of y'all know why I'm here. I'm revisiting the lack of responsibility by the city of Bay St. Louis and an out-of-state contractor to uphold the law, state law. The city of Bay St. Louis allowed this contractor to repeatedly flood my foundation by allowing basic construction flood plan responsibilities to be ignored. After a year of neglect, there was a curb poured to block the overflow of collected rainwater runoff to be diverted to the road. Now that took a year for them to do. If they'd have did that from day one and contained their rainwater, I wouldn't have accrued damages. So now my house has accrued damages to where I have broken sills. I have pictures of all of it. I'm a pretty handy guy, so I climbed in there and put jacks and stands underneath the house. So I'm trying to mitigate my damages. But after many conversations with the city council members, the building inspector, the contractor, and the mayor, there's still no urgency to stop the illegal diversion of rainwater runoff from my neighboring property caused by this construction project. So the back property is still diverted to where it runs to my house. And I just wanted to make it be known that I keep griping about it and it keeps happening. So I don't see where there's any concern for my rights as a citizen with the city.
Mike, have y'all sent the code enforcement officer over there?
The property he's talking about is not the homeowner's property. It's the people that owns the property, an L-shaped piece of property on the other side of it. The property he's talking about behind his house does not belong to the homeowner he is talking about to start with. We've been over there. The problem is it is a low spot back there, and this guy, who, you know, the homeowner, the contract on his plans originally showed a swell from the back to the front. Throughout time, lack of patience, this and that, getting the yard ready and all that, he went and put a chain wall up, which is perfectly legal by law, by our ordinances and everything else. The dirt is probably 6-8 inches below that, all graded, going to the front of the yard and the street where his water's going. His water is contained on his property that goes into the basins and all on the road. They went out there and they shot grade, and he's got a slab from the old building that was there, and what needs to be done is there needs to be a swale from his backyard to his front yard, and they've shot grade out there to show that the front yard is higher than the backyard. Now he's got a sump pump, maybe, I don't know if you got one or two. I know the neighbor's got one on the other side. You put in, I think, Brent? Yeah.
I put in that one for the neighbor. He fixed his problem, which was created by a construction project in the back of his yard. So I put that in for him.
Yeah. So, you know, I think they've talked about going in and cutting a little swale along the property line to try to get it from the backyard, or putting a little French drain in, but I think it's also, I think, it might be wrong, but I think your utilities run down the side of your property line on his side. So.
Well, the chain wall was built right on the property line, so there's no splitting the property line to drain everything. And from day one, whenever they was building this property, they took no precaution to collect the rainwater. I have videos. I sent the videos to everybody. I have the videos to show how bad it was. And in my mind, the problem is the city didn't hold this guy accountable for any other contractor that I know. They have to be responsible for their rainwater runoff from day one. It took a year for them to stop this property from draining. Even when they did the chain wall, it leaked around the chain wall and around the back and straight to my house. I flooded 6 times, 6 big times that I flooded, and I knew it was coming. I did everything I can do myself to mitigate my damages to my house, but now I have serious damages to my house. And I'm trying to mitigate them right now, and this seems like it's not an urgent thing to take care of, you know, the residents. I've been a lifelong resident. My family's been here since it was called Shield Apartment. And there is no, I mean, any other person, it seems like they would be protected, because the rules are there for a reason. You have to collect that rainwater runoff. And he didn't do it from day one, and nobody enforced it. And I've been griping about this for a year.
So Mike, what can the city do?
The city's not gonna do anything.
Well, again, this guy's water is maintained now.
What about the back of the property? 'Cause you mentioned earlier that it's, the front is, but then it's running to the back of the property that's an L shape, right? So it is flowing to another piece of property, not.
Wait, do what now?
That the issue is now that is it drain, because again, with the grade, the back is drained onto the next property.
Start with originally, everybody's water went on this guy's property, whoever the homeowner was.
And I got a point to that.
You know, so he came in, built his own, which he's allowed to build on his property. He's able to raise it in there as allowed. His plan showed a swale. When he got through, he'd have a swale on his property line on both sides going to the front of the house. And again, I think the silk fencing and all got washed down, knocked down in the heavy rain. I know you got flooded and all this and that. And then it started pushing. I think you put a fence up on the property line and started pushing for this guy to do something. He went and got an engineer paid for an engineer to get this done, and spent a lot of extra money to get this done. You know, that his water is maintained.
And in the back as well? So is it not flowing in the back? Because it seems like.
That's not his property behind that wall.
Where's the water coming from to get onto that property?
Huh?
Where's that water coming from to get onto the property?
Through the L-shaped property, and I don't know who else flows in there from back there, on the backside.
Well, my point is that from what I'm reading in state law, is that it's illegal to divert natural flowing water to cause someone damage. And all they did was take that water that was running across this new construction property and diverted it to come to me. That's illegal.
It's diverted right now going to the street.
It's diverted going to my house, to my pump, and I'm pumping it
His water
Oh,
is
his
going
water.
to the street.
His water was not contained, after it would rain and everything would
Yeah,
get
silt
saturated,
fence
like I
got knocked
said.
down, this and that and everything, and it did.
Well,
you
after
know.
it was, after they did the chain wall, I've been here and I've said this before, after they did the chain wall, once everything fills up within the chain wall, everything additionally leaked around the chain wall over to my house. I've said this repeatedly about this, and I've griped about it, like you said, I gripe, but I griped about it repeatedly. And now, here at the end, over a year later, they took a curb and they connected the curb to the chain wall, which did stop their property from draining on my property. But it took a year. That's ridiculous that it would take a year.
Well, I don't know if that's what's stopping it.
I'm telling you,
know.
that's what happened.
But we've
got
been out there
proof,
when it was
evidence.
raining and could not see where the water was running on that side. The property you're talking about is on the driveway side of the property, right?
They.
You
they
said
got
it's going around
driveways,
the house,
they got
around
driveways
back,
all- They got multiple driveways. I guess you would say the beach
away
side.
from you. Yeah,
Yes.
beach side.
Away from me.
And we've been out there in the rain trying to figure out, looking to see if it was going around. We could not see, because on that side of the property's got big trees and all rooted, and the roots, it's a lot higher over there than what the street is. So it'd have to get deep enough in the street to push it all the way to the backyard on that side.
Well, that was also a
Yeah.
problem that they had. They had that tree there, and instead of taking up the tree and running the chain wall further out where it would collect that, they just stopped short. And that left the opening for that water to run around. I have videos and evidence of all of this that I've been saying. But I've collected all this evidence and I've showed it easily. You could easily understand by all the evidence that I have what was happening. And it leaked around the wall, coming to my house. I've been griping about this. Like you said, I was griping. But from day
Well, you
one,
wasn't griping, you was bringing up good points and all.
well, I mean,
know.
like you said before, that he was gonna implement some sort of plan, but I
Well,
started griping.
again, the plan was when he got through with his yard to put swales in.
Yeah,
He
but
couldn't
you're
put
not
the-
you're responsible from day one.
I was,
the first
okay,
day.
but he had silt fencing up trying to protect that.
The silk fence never worked, and besides,
Well,
he
when they
brought in
had
so
that
much
downpour
dirt.
the first time, it was. But he was allowed to bring this dirt in like any other property owner. Now,
Well,
he
if you're
came
allowed
in
to
and
bring
put
as
a
much dirt
chain
in, there
wall
should have
up.
been, a plan to collect all, and make sure there's no damages to surrounding property. Mine, I mean, I'm still accruing damages to my property, and I have pictures for all of that just to prove. I've been pretty much coming over here begging for something to be done, and now, I mean, the solution you and Mr. DeSalvo have is, well, you can fix this problem by digging up where you got your utilities and then putting a drain, and you could fix this and then me draining 3 properties.
well, I
It's
think he's
ridiculous.
offered to do that,
Who did?
the homeowner.
If he would've did that, if he
But
would've,
that's on your property, and he would probably go in there and do that if you give him permission to do it.
I'm not giving him permission to do that on my property, because my property's got all my utilities right there.
I understand.
I'd have to tear up my driveway. It seems to me like when somebody builds a house in someone's neighborhood, they need to be considerate of what's there and not damage their property. And really, the city needs to hold them accountable and say, you can't damage our citizens. But Bay St. Louis is not doing that. And they haven't done that. And I've accrued damages, and now I'm stuck to where I have to just collect all my stuff and probably just have my day in court, because, I mean, it's ridiculous. The
And
city
if that's
has
the
done-
situation, I'd suggest that this conversation be shut down.
I think,
Do you
anyway,
have anything?
I just wanted
Do you
to,
have litigation pending?
I do have litigation pending, but of course,
Then again, I suggest that this conversation be immediately shut down.
my litigation is not what it, from my understanding, I have no claim against the city, because the person responsible is the homeowner, is from what my understanding is. So my only avenue is to have my day in court with the homeowner. That's from what my understanding is, that's my only option. I can't go after the contractor, because what I'm understanding is even though the contractor is the one that did wrong and the one I tried to work with and that wouldn't work with me, from what my understanding is that the homeowner's responsible for what the contractor does. So the only one that I can go after is the homeowner, who I didn't even, if I'd have knew this before, I could have talked with the homeowner, but I was under the assumption that the contractor's responsible for all of this until it's turned over to the homeowner. And apparently that's not the case. My litigation, even though in my mind, it would be nice to be against the city. I don't have,
So so if they're dumping water, then that's a violation of city ordinance, correct?
that's a violation of state law.
I'm not commenting on this.
So if somebody's not, I mean, every time we make a motion on planning and zoning, if something is flooding somebody's property, we say, hey, you gotta maintain the water like with gutters and stuff on houses. You're saying you're not gonna talk about city ordinances?
Well, that is a
Not-
city ordinance and it's stating everything. But this guy is maintaining his water.
After a year.
And again, I'm not going to engage in a legal conversation with somebody who just said he's engaging in pending litigation, looking to bring the city into it or looking to place fault on the city, even if he thinks that the city cannot be brought in. I'm not going to sit here and
Hey,
engage
that's
in.
fine. I just wanted to say my piece. I know it's a city council meeting and residents have the right to come and, speak their piece, and that's all I wanted to do. And, I'm just pointing out that, I wasn't protected. And that's the way I feel, and, that's all I wanted to say, that I wasn't protected and, city let me down.
Thank you.
I appreciate
All
you
right.
for listening. Thank you very much.
Okay, so, Ms. Warner, you have a sign? Okay. They had John Bazoo, but I think you spoke already.
Two things. I want to agree with John on what he said. I think John Bazoo was very eloquent and spoke for a lot of us in terms of those cameras. And I also agree with him that I don't think we need assault rifles. They're weapons of war. What I'm talking about, though, today is political signs. One of my neighbors, nice little old lady, nice house, white picket fence, had her political signs out in front of her white picket fence. And a city worker came along and told her, you cannot do that, that's city property. My understanding is we own the property to the street. The city might have a right of way or an easement. Heather, what do we have? Is that an easement or right of way?
No, it's typically right away that would be city property.
All the way, but we.
Typically, but Miss Anita, I would have to look at, I mean, every street in the city is different depending on how they were mapped and plat. But
Okay.
typically, the city has, that is the right of way that the city actually lets the homeowner in most situations chooses that area as the yard if it's not the road or a sidewalk or a light pole.
Okay, so is there some reason people can't put political signs out there?
I believe it's against the ordinance. I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I
There's
think it's supposed to be on private property.
Okay, well then here's my, putting on my senior warden hat at Christchurch. I don't want all those political signs all over our property because people never pick them up. So people tell me, oh, we have a right to put them out front in the first 8 feet, which again is your city right of way.
First date.
Not true.
So,
Yeah, we have a pretty direct sign ordinance, and I think the city's pushed out some information on that, hasn't it, via social media, and I think they've sent it to all candidates. Yeah, they're supposed to be on private property.
That's all signs.
I don't have it. It's on MuniCode. The sign
Okay,
ordinance
okay,
is
no,
there.
no, that's
If you let me know
the reason I
tomorrow, I'll
asked.
get you a copy of it. I
But
just
what
don't
if
have
the
it with me.
fence is set back and it's their property?
well, yeah, I mean, like my
And
fence
it's on
is
the
set way
outside
back,
of the
yeah.
fence, but it's still on their property.
Or they can zip tie it to the fence, they don't have to
Yeah.
put the
Yeah,
sign.
I mean, what is it, usually 8 feet?
For which portion?
Right of ways, the easement? is
It
usually-
varies.
Okay.
It varies every road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's all for public forum. Let's see where we're at. Project updates, Mike, Jason? Mike, Jason.
All right, good evening. We have some things to discuss and a couple action items we're requesting tonight. The first one is authorization to accept our recommendation for the Depot Way paving improvements project. We should have a recommendation letter in our report. We did receive, I think, 4 bids. And we're recommending the award to Gulf Pride Paving. They were the lowest and most responsive bidder. And this is for alternates 1 for base bid, and then also alternate 1 and 2.
So the whole thing's getting done, Jason?
Yes, sir. So the base bid is for basically all the work at Depot area. milling the road, new striping. Some of the road we have to rebuild because it's failed so bad. And then alternate alternate two is at the community hall. This is the paving and some drainage work in front of the community hall to make that area, add some additional parking.
We're basically approving everything but the SSC parking.
That's right, yeah. If you look at the bid tab, it kind of explains what all we're recommending.
So why are we not doing the SSC part of it?
Because that bid came in at,
$147,000.
$147,000, so it's out of budget. We can look at that as a separate phase once the additional funding is here.
How's it out of budget?
Total or out of budget for what we budgeted for that one part?
Because I think we had,
We're using the remainder of the Gulf Coast Restoration Funds for the train depot, that depot grounds project.
So we need to go somewhere else and get the money.
So we don't have enough to do SSC at the same time doing these other ones.
Well, we can use road and bridge money for this.
We can,
We could possibly do that.
Yeah, so let's do the whole project. Let's finish this thing and, use road and bridge to fund it.
What monies are we using right now?
Gulf
We
Coast
got the
Restoration
Gulf
Fund.
Coast-
And we were
Grant from the depot
exhausting
grant.
that,
Gulf
those
Coast.
funds. Gulf Coast
the grant from
Restoration.
the depot grant.
Restoration, okay.
That was the stuff we had from the depot.
So Jason, what it would cost to do the whole project with that one company?
the base bid plus all three alternates would be $555,013.90.
Okay.
And they were still the cheapest and lowest for that,
Yes, they were.
that phase and all total.
If you add that in, they still would win the bid.
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have the road and bridge fund for projects, do we?
Some of it, I think.
Some of it is.
I mean, cause we got a ton of projects out there. I know we allocating
Well,
different
this is a
funds.
project.
I know, but it's over budget project. We have funds, we got projects out there we're funding, right? And I don't pull up the sheet, I'm just asking a question. Is that road and bridge, some of that road and bridge already spoken for other projects that we're supposed to be paying either, matching funds or what have you?
I'm sure when we amend the budget, it'll all be looked at, because we haven't even amended the payroll ordinance yet. I mean, there's money to be found everywhere.
Are you sure we got it? I'm not gonna vote on it thinking we might find it. I'm just
Jason,
asking.
just
and we
be
can-
added once they get into it?
No,
Needs
sir.
to be awarded right now?
Yeah.
It would need to be awarded.
If we got it, I don't mind, but I just don't wanna allocate
How much
$300,000
over?
The cash
extra
balances, we
It's
got
about
over $1 million in road and
$225,000
bridge
over?
fund.
No,
Doug, to answer your question,
No, 140.
when we prepared the budget,
No.
we allocated things such as the sidewalk projects, Old Spanish Trail lighting, all those local matches were assigned to road and bridge. The reality is, and we knew this going in, that we were not gonna be doing some of those projects this year.
Okay.
But wanted to show y'all that in our budget, we had those funds for those projects for the 20% local match. The reality is, again, those sidewalk projects on Felicity and, Pine, are not happening in FY '25.
You said 2026, I think, in Jason's.
So,
And plus, we
But
haven't,
just from a
we're
cash
getting
flow
more road
perspective,
and bridge this year.
Oh,
No, we're
So,
using that.
that's it,
road and bridge
that's
for
it,
the-
part of the budget in the project that we've
Well, we're just
anticipated
gonna have to
revenues.
amend the
but
budget then.
For road and bridge, we anticipated the new revenues, and then we put the expenses for the different projects as our local matches. That's where we ran it through for these sidewalk projects, Old Spanish Trail lighting. And we said at the time that we don't anticipate these projects going in FY '25.
Well, didn't you say we had an additional
know.
233,000 that carried over from the previous budget?
I was talking about road and bridge. That is true, and that, again, was carried into FY '25. But for road and bridge, if you wanted to allocate that, those sidewalk projects will not be done this year.
This
So
is
it
about
would push into next year or the year after.
over budget.
So, is there Jason, that project, the SSC one, what was the amount of that?
147.
147. So, to answer Doug's question, can you take it out of there? You probably could.
Yeah.
So it's in there.
It's there.
So we have it.
Yes, we'll have to just amend the budget just
My
to.
question, do we have it?
Why don't you pull up the cash balances? Let's go over it item by item.
I'm pulling up the project list right here, item by item, to show me what we got allocated, where we spending the money at. I don't like to think we got money, I like to know we got money.
Well, we did carry over 233,000 from last year.
I rubbed two pennies together, buddy.
Road and bridge, 99,000 for Buyer Street. Let's see here, $25,000 for Washington Street sidewalks.
I don't.
Yeah, but some of those are pushed out to next year, but,
Main Drain, yeah, that's what I'm saying, so.
but that's fine. I just wanna know we got it before we spend it.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even received all our road and bridge money for this year.
Well, some of the road and bridge goes to our bond payments, the other we just used out there paving the roads off of Lagan.
No, bond payments are covered by millage.
No, it's not. Some of it comes out road and bridge too.
Which one?
I'd have to go back and look.
Because we get sales tax road and bridge money also.
Yeah.
From the tickets of the lottery. I think that will be fine.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we gonna do here?
I would make them, recommend a motion, do the whole project. If something has to be amended later on, we still have to look at the payroll ordinance to see if there's any extra monies there. There usually is. Then we have also, the $233,000 that rolled over from the previous year. And, Mike, you're the finance guy. Why don't you find it?
Well, I mean,
So like I said, we are not gonna be doing some of those sidewalk projects and other things in FY '25.
So you're saying we have the funding available?
I said,
if we-
yeah, I said that a few minutes ago.
you know,
Yes.
look, it's all a great project back there. Everything, it's more parking. It's roping off Stanislaus's area as well.
Yeah.
You know, to keep people from traveling through it. It's gonna add a good bit of golf cart parking on the east end past Mr. Al Kingston's old place. It's gonna add parking out front there as well. You know, they all great projects back there.
Okay.
And for
Yeah.
clarification, just because using the term SSC, it might get a little confusing for the public. It's a strip of property around the perimeter of a piece of property that is owned by St. Stanislaus
Yeah.
that the city has leased for additional property, or for additional parking. So just to clarify, when we're
Yeah,
talking
we're not-
about
yeah, this
SSC, we're
isn't
not
going
paving
in.
a Stanislaus parking lot.
Correct.
This is to add additional, parking around Blaze Avenue.
This is to
Okay.
cover the lease that we
So,
talked
Mr.
about.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a good question.
So, Mr. Russo, we're saying that we do have the money to go ahead and add this other project in, this $147,000.
Yeah,
We
with
have
the understanding that you're not doing Pine Ranch, these other sidewalk projects in FY
until
'25.
26, I think.
If you push them
is
out.
Mr. Kenichi
Old
has
Spanish
that.
Trail's not happening,
Like I said, it's about
before October.
$220,000 more.
so you're not spending those monies.
All right, so I'll make a motion that, we do the whole project.
So,
Can that motion also include that it's Gulf Coast Restoration Fund and Road and Bridge?
And, yeah, we'll use the,
or you can use the surplus funds from last year. It doesn't.
That's into.
so
that's
you're wanting to
surplus
use
in the
Gulf
budget.
Coast Restoration
Just-
and Road and Bridge.
Correct.
All right, so, I make a motion that we do the whole project using Gulf Coast Restoration monies and Road and Bridge monies.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilman Reed.
And we're gonna award this project to,
Golf Pride paving.
yeah, Gulf Pride Paving LLC.
Who is the lowest and best bid, and what was the amount, since
Yeah,
Jason, do you have the total amount?
Yeah, I got it right here. I'll say it.
555.
$555,013.90. Is that it?
Okay, so we got a motion from Councilman Reed
Second.
to approve the, to Golf Pride Paving LLC, in the amount of $555,013.90 to come from the, what's that fund, Dave?
Gulf Coast Restoration.
Gulf Coast
GCRF.
Restoration,
And
GCRF,
GCRF.
and the Road and Bridge Fund, County Road and Bridge. You have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hoffman. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Jason.
All right, thank you.
When are you
Thanks,
gonna
Jason.
start?
Thank you, Jason.
We'll
right, what
get
else
to the
you have?
contractor and look at his schedule. The second item, we would like authorization to advertise for construction, the harbor dredging. We did receive the permit from the Corps of Engineers and DMR, so we are ready to get this project out for bid. Right now, the amount of money that's been allocated is about $450,000 from FEMA based on their cost estimate.
Is that part of that $2.5 million loan we did?
No, this is
This is
in
separate.
addition to that.
So, yeah.
We do anticipate that it's gonna be more than that, so we think we're gonna be back in the same boat with trying to get the additional funds from FEMA, but until we bid it out, we don't really know. So we do ask for authorization to advertise so we can get some bids.
So I make a motion to authorize the advertisement for the, construction bids for the Bay St. Louis Harbor dredging project.
We have a motion to approve authorization to advertise for construction bids for the Bay St. Louis Harbor dredging project by Councilman Hoffman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0.
Mr. President, can I ask Mr. Kenichi
Yeah,
a
sure.
question? Is there a timeline, did we set a timeline for the project, in the depot? Do they
We
have,
still have to get contracts and bonds and insurance certificates, so that takes about a month to get all that information. So we'll come back once we have it scheduled and issue a notice to proceed.
okay.
I think he was asking, do you remember, you probably don't remember off the top of your head, but how long they were given to complete the project?
Oh, I really don't, because we had time for the base bid plus all the alternates, so I'd have to go back and look and see
And add it
what
all
all
up.
we included.
All right. Could you have that for me for the next meeting?
I'll call you tomorrow with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I just need to look at the specs, I don't have it.
Okay.
Is that
Okay.
it?
We've got some discussion items too that
Okay,
we
go
wanted to go. The Hurricane Ida Road, we received the PW, the revised PW, the money's been obligated for the additional, I think it's 1.6 or 1.8 million for the DBST and the hazard
Gary,
mitigation.
if I may, there's been a lot of chit chat, and maybe it's just me, but it's hard to hear. So just external chit chat. Y'all might not be able to hear it, but just audience chit chat. So I'm just asking if we can
Oh, okay.
try to
Yeah, please.
keep the chit chat down. I guess the acoustics, it's just very hard to hear over here.
It's kind of pinging too. Go ahead.
So what we wanted to discuss tonight is we do have an option of going back to MEMA and requesting an improved project to pave those streets with asphalt instead of the resurfacing with DBST. I believe if we go that route, it'll be capped at $3 million, from what I understand, based on information from MEMA. We do have to submit a letter requesting that, and then we have to wait for MEMA and FEMA to approve it. We're not sure what the time frame of that approval would be. They're saying it could be 2 to 3 months, but we don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we
this,
wanted to
this
have
is
that
the project we've
tonight.
been working on, Josh. You know, after Zeta, we awarded some funds for this to go back as DBST, as we know, came in like, I don't know, 3.4 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. Congressman Zell's office has been working with us and everything, trying to get an improved project done and the additional pay out for. We finally got awarded that. And as Jason stated, it's an opportunity now. We can go in there and pave these roads and everything.
But right now, we're asking for permission from FEMA, correct?
Yeah,
We need to
MEMA,
submit a letter request.
we got to send it to MEMA, and MEMA's got to send it in. So with this, you know, I know there's a lot of talk about this and that and everything, but it would take a grand anticipation note, probably bond, to get this. I think about $3 million, whatever, and 90% of that's paid back by FEMA, 5% by MEMA, and the city would be responsible for $150,000 to do a $3 million project, is what it comes down to.
So Jason, I know when we talked about this, we were saying that it would be cheaper to do the asphalt than it would be to go back with what was the DVST.
Based on current bids, if we think it's gonna be cheap.
Is that 3 million gonna be enough? Cause I know the bid for the DVST came in higher than that.
I
Yes.
think it will be. Part of the reason the DBST bid came in higher, there's a hazard mitigation component that we had to do, that was about $600,000 for that work. So I think, based on what we've looked at for other estimates,
Well, what we don't want to do is put DBST back there again, because it floods 6, 7 times a year.
One discussion we had was possibly getting the bid packet together now for asphalt to submit it with all leather to change, so we can have prices.
yeah, I mean, we would have to go back out to actually redesign it, so to speak, because it's a different material. And then go back out for bids for asphalt paving. So there's some legwork we have to go through for that.
But if we started on that now while waiting on the approval, it would speed up the process in the future then if we.
That's the thought. Once we get the approval from FEMA, we'll have everything, the bid's already received, and we'll be ready to award it at
So
that.
what are you asking for tonight?
For permission to submit a request to MEMA, to go to request the improved project.
Improved project through FEMA.
To use asphalt.
So, I make a motion to authorize, the administration, I guess, and
Yeah.
to, send a letter to MEMA requesting an improved project for either road repairs to go from DBST to asphalt.
Okay, we got a motion from Councilman DeSalvo to submit a letter to MEMA, requesting an upgrade from DBST to asphalt for Hurricane Ida damage. Second, who's got a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Seal. Any discussion? Vote the motion?
Aye.
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 Aye. Councilman Lewis has, left the meeting.
Thank you.
Passes 6-0.
All right, thank you for that. The next discussion item, so ARPA Phase 3, if you recall, the money that we received from the federal government and the state, was going to rehab sewer system. We did some evaluation of all the sewer lines and the sewer manholes in Phase 1. Phase 2, we actually are getting started on that pretty quick, to repair some of the damage that we found during that evaluation period. That project did come in on a budget, so we're looking at a Phase 3 and possibly a Phase 4 with some of this, that remaining money. What we met about today is to line some of the sewer laterals. So if you think about every house has a sewer lateral that ties into the sewer main. Usually that can account for up to 30% of the infiltration and I&I issues. So we're looking at possibly trying to do a package to line those to further reduce that I&I. We're also looking at some of the lift stations that might need to be rehabbed or repaired or brought up to current code. Some of them don't have rails to get the pumps in and out, and the pumps are actually undersized. So no real approval from the council tonight, but just wanted to let y'all know that that's what we're looking at, some of those remaining funds.
So are we, what did we team up with the county with? Because I know we were talking about match, what did they provide?
They gave $700,000 towards this project.
Okay.
Yeah, we had about $8.5 million total.
No, it was 700.
Total 7.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll be looking at what's the best option and come to you guys for some recommendations.
Okay. How long you think that'll, so Phase 3's getting ready to start?
Phase 2 is gonna start. Phase
Okay.
2 of the repairs, we're gonna start on Valentine. We know there's.
Is that the
severe
one on
repair.
Valentine?
Start on Valentine. They're supposed to be here next week to
Okay.
get started on that. So, we'll take care of that one. And then they'll be working throughout the city to line and do point repairs and repair and rehab all a bunch of the manholes.
Okay.
And that's Phase 2. And this project, all the money has to be obligated and spent by September of 2026. So
That's
trying to
what I
get, yeah. So we got a hard deadline on the backside. Two other items that I wanted to mention that are not on my list, but just something that we've been working on, some standard details for drainage, roadways, parking spaces, things like that. We've been working with Ronnie to start developing that, so they'll have that. If somebody comes in and that'll alleviate a bunch of questions that we have on the back end. We'll show them what kind of drain inlets we want, piping, things like that. So we're working through those with him. And then we did take bids today on Bayou LaCroix Phase 2. This is a MOST grant. MOST grant, I think it's a $150,000 grant. We had 4 bids. The low bidder was $119,000 from Coastal Land and Marine. We're evaluating all these bids to be sure all the paperwork was turned in. And we look to have a recommendation for that at the March meeting.
If we have extra money, could any of it be used for paving out there?
Not out of the MOST grant.
Not the most house.
Yeah, strictly for access to the water.
Also,
You gotta
Mike,
prepare
that,
to get
one
to
of the
the
things I was gonna ask about,
You gotta have good.
when you
pavement
go
to get to
into
the water.
that launch, the ditch is like backed up so the water don't drain into that inlet right there. So, I mean, if y'all get a chance to look at it, cause it's like the pipe is, and, you know, and it just like covered in mud. And, so the water doesn't flow over the driveway, it's just past the driveway over there, and it just kinda backs up in there. It should just flow right into the bayou.
You talking about where the road goes up to 603?
Yeah.
That culvert.
Yeah. I don't know if it's crushed or not, or full of rock. That's all you got, Jason?
That's it. That's all.
Last thing, Sienna Street, I see it's on here, so we're gonna get this marsh buggy.
That's right.
And so what do you got, what do you have left to do? You said some high points in the center of,
Well, there was one property owner that did not sign the right of entry, so we had to skip that property. So we worked on both sides of it. And right now, if you approve the marsh buggy, then they'll be able to clean downstream some high spots that were downstream that were outside the original scope
so
of work.
does the ditch, the main drain behind the post office, does that connect to that Sienna Street?
Post office?
Yeah, if you look at the post office on Boost Log,
It runs on side of the Bailey,
yeah.
under the highway
I
on
think
side
that
of the
crosses,
Bailey.
crosses the highway right there from the post office.
Mhm.
Post office
post
goes out
office.
through across Longfellow, across Penashare Lane.
Yeah.
The
and out
separate line.
to-
So
out that
something
way to
happened and that
Washington
water's
Street.
backed up in there and it's not draining. I mean, it used to be just a little trickle when we didn't have rain, but now it's just holding
The post
water.
office?
behind the post
Behind
office.
the post office, yeah.
It's a good bit. I mean, it's just not flowing. So it's either something fell
Yeah, there might be some debris.
So that, yeah, that one goes there,
Beside the
goes over
church.
beside Kelly Cannon's.
Yeah.
And crosses
Yeah,
underneath.
something's blocking it, because it used to flow real well. And it would flow around the post office, like you're saying, the Kelly Cannon, then it would go out to wherever it went.
Be a beaver dam.
Ah, another beaver dam. huh? Why you got that marsh buggy? Run them over. Pesky beavers.
Have to be
Man,
relocated.
I've been messing with beavers all day long, I'm gonna tell you that. Bucky's is gonna open soon. Okay, that's it. Is that
That's
all?
it, unless you have any
I
other
have one more question. Project looks great at MLK. They're wrapping it up now, I believe.
Yes, sir, we're getting close.
Are they gonna stripe that parking area?
They will. The asphalt has to cure for about 2 weeks before they can stripe it.
Do you know how many handicap they're gonna put in there, or are they gonna put any handicap in
I
there?
think we have one handicap
One handicap.
in that area.
Okay.
I have one last thing. On the Court Street Community Center, so they got substantial completion done?
That's not a Jason
Yeah,
project.
Jason, that's Machado. That's not Jason's project.
Okay, so that project is almost finished,
We're
correct?
extremely close to finish.
Okay. All right, Jason, that's it.
Looks great.
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Let's see, city clerk's report? Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, Mike, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Thank you. Motion to approve the docket of claims 25-007 dated February 18th, 2025, in the amount of $513,627.61. I had not received any questions from anybody.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Seal to approve docket of claims number 25-007 dated February 18, 2025, in the amount of $513,627.61. Second by Councilman DeSalvo. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5 to 1, one abstention. Councilman Reed. Go ahead.
Motion to approve docket of claims 25-008 special in the amount of $274,703.81 dated February 18th, 2025. And this is a transfer. We received some of that modernization income tax, I call it internet sales tax, went into the general fund, so it's putting it into that mod fund. The
Why are we
transfer.
moving the money?
Because that's the fund it has to go into.
Okay.
When the state sends us money, it all goes in the general fund checkbook. They only can put it in one checkbook.
Okay.
And now we've got to move it to the appropriate fund, which is a separate checkbook
Motion.
by state law.
Yeah, to abide by state law.
Thank you.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Seal, to approve docket of claims 25-008 special in the amount of $274,703.81 dated February 18th, 2025. Specifically, this is moving money from general fund to
Modernization
use tax fund. Councilman Seal, made a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Hoffman. I'm sorry, beat you.
Sure.
Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Motion to approve lease purchase financing proposal from Cadence Bank for 6 Dodge Durangos. That's all the equipment?
This includes the equipment with all the vehicles. It's a full package for the cars, as was what y'all approved for us to go get financing for.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Seal to approve lease purchase financing proposal for Cadence Bank for 6 Dodge Durangos. Wait, we gotta put the amount in here. I'm sorry, it's not showing up on here.
Yeah, they was a little bit higher on their percentage rate, but their total overall cost for Cadence was lower than the next bidder at First Bank. First was at 510, I think they were at 513.
It's how they calculate the interest based on 365 days compared to 12 months at 30 days. So
Yeah,
it's
so they
actually-
were a little bit, their interest rate was 5.13, but they were the lowest overall total cost to the city.
Let's see. So, what's the total amount?
Gary, I don't think you need, you're approving the the whole financing proposal. You don't need the amount,
Okay.
you've already purchased the vehicles.
So Councilman Seal
Yep.
made a motion to approve lease purchase financing proposal from Cadence Bank for 6 Dodge Durangos to be outfitted.
Second.
Second by Councilman DeSalvo. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 6-0.
300.
Consented.
370,266.72 was the total.
What's constant contact annual fee?
Constant Contact is an email, text messaging service. So in order for, the harbor's been asking for basically text messaging services for emergencies, so they can, basically about 10% of their people are checking the emails when we do an emergency evacuation, for example. So they wanted to be able to text message. This is the cheapest that we've been able to find. It's used by other cities in the area, but it has both capacity for email as well as text message. I think it was like $400 and some change.
Okay.
And then that would be split actually between Harbor and the city council, so that we can email the council agendas like we used to.
Good.
So that way we can have people sign up. And eventually we can add it for other things that people want to know about recreation, but right now it's those two purposes to get where we can email agenda like we used to.
Belmont.
Okay, got a motion. Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, motion approved consent agenda. Items 23 through 42.
Second.
No questions.
The, Al, could you come up for a second? Or Chief? So, I was looking at the rifle purchase that you have, but I was also reading this, thing for this, grant that you're getting, and you want 12 more on top of that? So you need 24? Do we have any in the cars now?
We own, the city owns a few, and the officers are also allowed to carry their own.
How come we need 24? I mean,
We have 32 spots for, 34 spots for gun toters, so that doesn't out.
Okay.
The idea would be to get the majority of all the same exact weapons
Well, I get
in
that
their
part.
cars.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Mike, does the crew of real people, nothing's changed with the route, correct?
No, never was.
I'm sorry, I'm just reviewing a few things I missed. All right, Doug, what was your motion?
Made a motion to approve consent agendas, items, whatever the hell it was, through
23?
whatever it was.
23 to 44?
Yep, I reviewed them, have no
42.
questions for none of them.
42.
Yes, sir, sorry.
I got a motion to approve consent agenda from Councilman Seal for items 23 to 42. Any discussion? Oh, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman DeSalvo. Any questions? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Spread reports.
Motion spread reports, minutes.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Seal, made a motion to approve cash balances, wage and hour report, revenue report, intergovernmental revenue report, detailed grant report, revenue and expense report, harbor report, gaming and sales tax report. Councilman Hoffman, you seconded?
Yes.
Councilman Hoffman seconded. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
All right.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Anything, attorney report?
All of my items have been covered throughout the agenda.
Okay, motion adjourned.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, pass the minutes down.
Who made a motion?
Pass the minutes down, Gene.
Y'all have the minutes.
They gone.
They might have stopped right.
Vote the motion.
All right.
Aye.
Oh, I think I need this piece.
Aye. Aye.